Fire up the cue. Grab a beverage or two and settle in. This is the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920, the flagship for the silver and black. Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, coming alive once again. Raiders HQ, Raiders training camp, all quiet on the Western Front, as they say. But the pads will be popping once again here on a Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Welcome in once again, Raider Nation. Another beautiful day here in Henderson. A little wind, a little breeze added to the mix here on a Tuesday morning, which typically when the wind starts blowing here in the summer in Las Vegas just feels like a hairdryer. It doesn't feel like there's much of a reprieve. But this morning in the shade, again, I'm the one in the shade, not running around, Vinny and Clay. That breeze is very helpful as we kick off practice number 6, day number 7. I'm doing my best, Vinny. I'm doing my best to keep it on the track, but I'm starting to get to the point where the days are just becoming one giant practice. But here we are.
Hey, man. I'm just impressed if we can remember that it's a Tuesday. You know
well, it's written down for me, so that's how I knew.
Oh my gosh,
I had
how
to
many
write
days?
It down.
And I'm one day closer to being out there with you. I'm doing my little tour. Guess where I am?
Where are you at? Arizona. Jeremiah Love.
San Diego. San Diego, which doesn't have a team, by the way, but the Chargers are trying to reconnect with their San Diego peeps. So they're practicing at the University of San Diego. The next couple of days, I'll be out here taking a look at the Chargers. It's been cool to be able to look at other teams, to have some perspective, on the Raiders, and you get to see how other teams do it, what their talent level is, what their strengths and some of their weaknesses are, and really be able to contrast that with the Raiders. But I can assure you that it's not going to be 100 degrees out here. Although it's been hot in California, it was in the Valley a couple of days ago. It was 102, at the highest point. So there's a lot of heat out there right now, and it's not just exclusive to Las Vegas. Although Las Vegas heat, and I guess you could put Phoenix in there as well. That's pretty intense heat.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday's heat was just. Again, we're not complaining. We're not complaining.
No,
this is simply just
no complaining zone.
Yeah, this is a no complaint. So I don't want to get it twisted, but it is simply
stating the facts.
Well, it is a fact, and the reason why I bring it up is because this time last year, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was hot, but it was much more mild than what it is currently. So, and I do think it's notable because the practices, and this is a credit to Clint Kubiak, his staff. I mean, they are in and out. You know what I mean? Like there is very little to none in terms of lingering breaks between. Their work is getting done. They're having their hydration breaks, and then they are moving on to the next thing. These practices have felt swift, have felt quick, which is again just one of the byproducts of what you have to do. And I know, at this time last year, I think we already had 2 or 3 practices indoors, if memory serves me right. We haven't had one yet, right? Like they have their walkthroughs and things of that nature, but in terms of actual practices, Clint Kubiak used the term, what was it, Clay?
We got Ferraris out here.
Yeah, these guys are Ferraris. Like they need to be on the grass, and there's something to that.
I don't think I don't know what kind of comp would you give yourself. What kind of vehicle? I personally wouldn't call myself a Ferrari. I'd be like a mid-'80s Chevy Sport van. Like what about those first minivans, those Aerostars, Vinny?
The Astro van?
Yeah.
No doubt. And you remember last year they started later too, so it made sense that they probably went indoors because it was at that hour a little bit hotter. I got to imagine though that there's a meteorologist on hand with the Raiders to be able to take a look at what the weather's going to be like. I say that half kiddingly, but maybe they knew last year, Vince, that it was going to be a more reasonable summer based on their information. I'm sure they have experts taking a look at things and saying, okay, it'll be okay to start practice a little bit later. Because what was it last year? Now I'm kind of, wasn't it like 8:30, 9 o'clock that they
It was an hour later than what it is now. So 7:30 starts here. With Clint Kubiak. Pete Carroll started his practices at 8:30. Yeah. Again, they had like a little 30-minute meeting with individual position groups, and then they would come out onto the field. So that's why the big difference today, there's not really meetings happening before. the guys come in to the facility, do what they need to do, and then they're out on the field and away they go. That's why they have their walkthrough period before stretch period, before they get into Indy and all those things. But to your point, it's not a joke. I know because my station has been reached out to for the meteorologist to kind of get a better idea for past training camps in the past. I don't know what they've done this particular training camp, but I know in years past they've reached out to me to talk to who on our staff that would be a good person to kind of just check in.
It wasn't you.
So, yeah,
right.
you just like,
was not me.
Talk to me. I know everything.
I said it's gonna be hot. I said we should probably go indoors. I said especially the media, we should probably get sit down as well.
Real quick about that, the indoor thing, because I get that I get that a lot. Even just hey, boy, it must be hot, in Vegas, and from other teams, Raiders must be practicing indoors, right? And I was like, no. And the reason why, it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you're covered, you're protected from the heat, and it actually gets cold in there. That's so crazy when we go indoors. You almost have to bring a little bit of a windbreaker sometimes. It feels great this time of year, but it does get a little chilly. It's chilly in there. The air conditioners are flowing, full blast. However, if you talk to players, and I've noticed this too, Vince, when I'm walking on the turf in the facility, or any turf, really, quite honestly, it's not exclusive to the Raiders facility. It feels different when you walk on that. I feel it in my legs, like it's maybe I'm getting older. I don't know, but I'm like, whoa, okay, all right, I feel a little different walking on this turf. Well, if you're one of the players and, if you're a fan and you're going, man, I would rather practice indoors. Who wants to be out there in the heat? And yes, granted, that is a consideration, but it's less of a consideration to the players compared to the wear and tear on the turf in the Raiders facility at Allegiant Stadium. Obviously, it's grass. They wheel in the grass for Sunday games, and they play on regular grass, which is a beautiful thing, by the way, and everybody appreciates that. But in the facility, it is the turf, and you notice a difference. And I know that the players notice a difference. So their preference is, no, we don't want anything to do with practicing on that, except for occasionally if it's raining or if it gets way too hot or way too cold, I guess, on the opposite end of the direction. But if you're wondering why they don't do that more often, it really is because of that wear and tear, and players would rather work on grass than turf.
Yeah, I've talked to many players that they would much prefer the outdoors than inside. Not
with
to
all
say
its elements.
Not to say it's beautiful and climate controlled. And to your point, at times, depending on the temperature outside, it's like a 50-degree difference inside compared to outside. It's crazy. But again, they'll be back outside. Fans will be out and about, which means the binoculars will be in full use today, Clay. First day of padded practice. Reactions, thoughts, it was really fascinating. I hate sounding like a broken record, but guys, Malik Benson.
All right.
Malik Benson, I was going through my notes last night of, who we were going to kind of touch on and things, and I see number 19 just littered all over my notes. I mean, I was really curious when the pads go on, right? And the aggressiveness picked up and the physicality and, would that separation still be there that Malik Benson has been creating through the first 3-4 days of practice, right? Pre-pads. And it's like nothing's changed. I mean, he was making plays all over the field. And I think one of my biggest takeaways that feels different, and, Ryan McFadden's going to be joining us in hour number 2 from ESPN. We were having this discussion. We'll revisit this in hour number 3 with him. Jesse Merrick, Silver and Black Sports Network, hour number 2. But, Vinny, we were talking about Dante Thornton Jr., right? And how last year at this time, every Raiders sizzle reel, right, social media, whatever clip they put, it felt like it was Geno Smith to Dante Thornton Jr., deep post over the middle, deep bomb down the sidelines for a touchdown, right? Like, it just every other day it was another highlight. And I remember, I think we actually used the phrase, we can't unsee what we're seeing. Like, he's making plays. And he was put in a position to have that opportunity early. He wasn't able to take the ball and run with it during the season. The difference is, because there felt like a lot of parallels with Malik Benson, the way we're talking, right? The difference for me is the sheer volume that Malik Benson is getting. Like, it's not just one or two plays in practice. Like, it is period in, period out. He is making catches. He is making plays, creating separation, and it's with multiple quarterbacks. It's with Kirk Cousins. It's with Fernando Mendoza. It's with Aiden O'Connell. And so for me, that's kind of been the biggest, light bulb moment is not just, okay, he's making splash plays. It is very consistent. And so that's why, again, I don't know what that's going to mean in the regular season. I'm not going to prognosticate what that would mean. We'll do that a little bit later when we have a bit more sample size to chew on. But when I look at that first padded practice and kind of like my biggest takeaways, I continue to be impressed with number 19 out there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you threw the however in there to contrast it because it is different with Malik compared to Dante Thornton. And last year, I'm not going to say that it felt intentional, but it did a little bit with Dante, and it also felt one-dimensional to me. It wasn't. It was a very specific type of route and all that they threw it up to him, and he made some plays. He also didn't make some plays too. There were drops and there were misfires. And we saw the highlight reel that you were talking about. But in and around that, there were also other plays that just didn't work out, right? But they kept trying to feed him in a very specific way. Whereas with Malik, from everything that I am hearing, and I talk to people in the building, he's just a more well-rounded wide receiver. So when you talk about Vince, the volume and the connection with multiple quarterbacks, it's because he's doing a whole bunch of different things, comparatively speaking, to Dante. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Dante. It's obvious you would want to get him the ball as a 6'5" speedster down the field, try to go up and get it, that type of thing. Whereas Malik is just more of a pure wide receiver. And, we talked about this, I think it was last week, about how the needle for him is pointing up, not just right now, but it really started turning up last year at Oregon after a couple of, the Alabama stop, and then his coach leaves, so he's got off to Florida State, and then that didn't quite work out, and then he goes to Oregon, and all of a sudden he blossomed. He turned a corner. And so I really feel like the Raiders are getting a football player who, for whatever reason, the lights kind of came on last year, and he's really taken that momentum. He took it into the spring, kept hearing about him and his name, because we would only see them one day a week, basically, for those 4 open weeks of OTAs. So you don't get a chance like you are right now, Vince, to see him day after day after day. We would see him, then it'll be a week, and then then another week, right? You're getting a chance to see him every single day in all sorts of different settings, and what he is doing to you is what he's done to the Raiders. He's flashing, he's making plays, he's showing up, he's making his presence felt, and it's undeniable at this point. So, and when you think about, it's early, obviously it's early, but you start thinking about the day 3 picks and pickups that the Raiders had during the draft, it's kind of shaping up as maybe one of those, wow, they hit on multiple players on that third day when you throw in Zeke Massis, when you throw in Jamad McCoy, when you throw in Kion Sloan, who's also flashing and doing his thing. We'll see how far all of those players will take it, as the days go on. But so far, so good for the day 3 picks and pickups for the Raiders.
Well, what I also like is that with your observations with the field glasses, the binoculars, Vince, is that you noticed yesterday that, in certain ways that they were using Malik, especially on the slant. And to think about how we see the highlight films from him at Oregon, for example, and you see how great he is in the open field, he could be a handful on a slant route. And I'm thinking when you need a third down and you need a quick short pass that's easy for any quarterback to go and make, that could be like the backbreaker, an explosive play that maybe we're showing a lot of versatility what Malik Benson can do as well.
Yeah, again, and to Vinny's point and to what you're saying, it hasn't just been one route. Right, like there's slants, there's overs, there's these comebacks. He's gone deep, he's gone over the middle. I think Clint, didn't say too much, but he gets his helmet and he gets his head in there. You know what I mean? Like he's not, and no one's afraid out here, but you know what I mean? Like he's more than willing to put his helmet in the muck, if you will. So again, he just continues to be one of these guys that's shining in a massive way here at Raiders training camp. 6'1", 195. He's obviously not the biggest guy out there, but he's not the smallest either. Again, I think we talked about that. I think there was a notion, sixth-round pick. Oh, he's a smaller return specialist out of Oregon. Mm-hmm. And you get out here, no, he looks very much the part, if you will. One other notable name that I wanted to just give us to chew on. So on the defensive side of the ball, guys, Tonka Hemingway is a fixture on the starting defensive line. I mean, 5 days into practice, now day number 6 today, Tonka Hemingway is a starter on this team, by all accounts. Every time the ones run on the field, number 97 is there, right behind Max Crosby. So don't get me wrong, there's rotations, right, at D-tackle, especially what they're doing, whatever the offense is bringing. But that first group, that base group, however you want to call it, because I know, we talked about 3-4 and being multiple and different things like that. However you're categorizing at this point, and it's still kind of a hodgepodge but their base, when the first defense runs onto the field, it's Tonka Hemingway out there with that first group. And I think that, man, you talk about another feather in the cap. You talking about stay with the theme of the day 3 draft picks that the Raiders have had. I mean, my goodness, what a I think we've used the term organizational win a bunch in the last couple days. That feels like a massive step for number 97 because Tonka Hemingway is not just there. He's making plays. He should have, if it was a live period or a game on Sunday, Tonka Hemingway is sacking Kirk Cousins yesterday during 11-on-11.
Yeah, and I think I might have mentioned this on air. I don't know if I told you guys this off to the side or on air, but somebody in the organization told me just before training camp, hey, keep an eye on Tonka Hemingway, to the point where he said when he has his 3-sack game, which he's going to have a 3-sack game. Now, I don't know about that, but hey, somebody in the organization thinks that day is coming. He goes, you will not know, you have no clue how much I'm going to be hooting and hollering and high-fiving people when that kid does that. So This was something that's been building, and you credit Tonka because, again, he put the work in throughout last year. And did it happen early for him? No, but that's not always the case. And this is the NFL. You're making a transition. So he kept chipping away, and then when his opportunity came later on in the season, the dude showed up and made plays. That was pretty clear. And he carried that momentum into the offseason and worked his you-know-what off to really put himself into the position that he's finding himself in now, Vince. And so this isn't a big surprise. The Raiders have seen the work, have seen the progress, and are forecasting something pretty special for Mr. Hemingway. So, and I love the name, by the way. So just keep an eye on Tonka Hemingway because he's somebody that has a whole bunch of helium in that balloon right now, and we'll see where he ends up taking it. But he's earned what he's getting right now, and that is starting reps and probably a starting job.
Yeah, there's been
what could be ahead for Tonka though? I mean, when you're saying like where is he at, especially like as far as like running with the ones, who's he getting paired up with?
Yeah, so it's typically been him and Jonah.
Okay,
him and Jonah in the middle of that teeth of that defense. Now Adam Butler's obviously been in that mix as well, but I do think it's notable that it's been him and Jonah typically jumping out with the first team. Adam Butler and him have also jumped out together with the first team. But, when you're looking at Max Crosby, Kwity Paye, Tonka Hemingway, those have kind of been the 3 constants in terms of that defensive line. And when the ones go out there, Malcolm Kuntz has obviously gotten his run and things of that nature. But, yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily Adam Butler's spot he's taking, Jonah Laulu's spot, but Tonka Hemingway has carved out his spot. I'll put it that way. He has carved out his spot along that defensive line, again, which is a massive, to me, organizational win in terms of the trajectory of the Raiders moving forward. So those were just a couple names that really stood out to me in a big way on the first padded practice. Again, I know as we talked about in real time during the show yesterday, Fernando Mendoza had a really nice bounce-back day from Sunday, which was not a good day. Monday was a much better day. The ball, I think I counted maybe 2 incompletions from Fernando yesterday, which, again, massive improvement from Sunday. You're going to go through the highs and lows, right? You're going to go through the highs and lows. Kirk was solid. AOC made some great throws in his obviously limited reps, because it truly feels like a 1, 2, and 3, right? Like, I think during OTAs it was kind of a 1, and then AOC and Mendoza were kind of alternating with the second team reps, and they were kind of getting split. But now it's kind of a true, as you would see in a normal training camp, right? The one's getting the most reps, 2s, and then 3's kind of getting the quote-unquote scraps. So we'll see what today has in store as Fernando Mendoza jogs his way onto the field as we speak, set to meet up with Coach Sullivan, go through his pre-practice visualizations, which have become a thing here at Raiders HQ. 702-365-9200 is the number. Want to get your reaction. We're going to open up the phones in a big way here in hour number 1. We want to hear from you, Raider Nation. Questions, concerns, thoughts, opinions. Where are you at? We are day 7. This is practice number 6. Raiders training camp. 702-365-9200. Again, Jesse Merrick, Silver and Black Sports Network, will be joining me here at the table in front of Field 1 in hour number 2. Ryan McFadden of ESPN in hour number 3. But first,
hey guys, are you craving real Mexican food that's been doing it right for generations? Then it's time for Sal's Mexican Restaurant, a Central Valley tradition since 1942 and huge Raider fans. We're talking about the kind of food that keeps people coming back. Stacked burritos, sizzling fajitas, legendary enchiladas, and those award-winning tamales that everybody's talking about. And here's the best part. Whether you're in Selma, Madera, or Fresno, Sal's has a location ready for you. Plus, Raider Nation, listen up. Sal's is all about the silver and black. So whether it's a game day or a fight night, anytime, this is your go-to spot. Can't make it in? No problem. You can get Sal's delivered straight to your door wherever you are. Just go to salsmexicanrestaurant.com. That's salsmexicanrestaurant.com and place your order right now. They'll deliver it to you wherever you are. Don't wait. Don't settle. Sal's Mexican Restaurant, tradition, flavor, and Raider pride, served up fresh every single day.
Malik Benson across the 40, midfield. Benson, he might take it. He will. Malik Benson, touchdown. Ducks flying high to the end zone.
Welcome back inside the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Malik Benson scoring TDs, finding pay dirt in college. Can he do the same in the National Football League? Let's make the team first. And then we'll find our way in the end zone. Can't skip steps, Vinny. Can't skip steps.
I was during the break talking to somebody, and we'll just say that somebody that is seeing what you're seeing. Let's put it that way. Watching what you're watching. And probably on a deeper basis. I will say that. But we were talking about Malik Benson, and the comp that came up was Nelson Aguilar. That was what that's kind of a Nelson Aguilar type of a wide receiver, which would be fantastic, by the way. If that's who Malik Benson ends up being a true comparison to. And especially getting him early at this stage of his career. So in terms of the size, in terms of the makeup, in terms of the route running and all that, the speed and everything like that, it's a Nelson Aguilar comp is apt in this case.
That would be unbelievable for the Raiders in the 6th round. that would be fantastic value and production if that does come to fruition. Again, he'll, as we say with Fernando, he'll run his own race. We'll see what he can do for the team and what he will do for the team. But again, you can't skip steps. You got to get through practice. You got to make the team. Got to make the roster. Got to make the game day roster, and then you can make your impacts on Sunday. A lot of steps in between now and then as the Raiders begin their walkthrough period ahead of stretch and ahead of their second padded practice. Fernando Mendoza was running over to meet his offense, Clay, and he realized he still had the ball in his hand. He wasn't apparently supposed to have the ball in his hand because almost in a frantic manner he kind of turned and like Kobe fadeaway jumper just launched it back to the staffer who was putting the footballs away about 35 yards down the field. Absolute dime.
Nice. That was it was designed run, a design throw right there.
It just again, these are the little tidbits that catch my eye. I don't know what any of it means for anything. I don't know if it means he's going to have a great practice. All I know is he was running with the ball, and then there was a realization I shouldn't have the ball. Turned around and just ripped it 35 yards down the field. It was amazing to watch. It was not a rep. It was not a part of a practice. That's just football. It was very cool to see.
He's following the rules, too. That's good.
Yeah, you put the football back. That football went back in the bag. I don't know why it went in the bag, but there it went. Okay. We were talking about the defense before we went to break, and Tonka Hemingway kind of carving out a starting role for himself seemingly early on in training camp. There's a lot of youth on that defense, but one of the veteran guys, specifically along that defensive line, is one Thomas Booker. He met with the media yesterday, and he's one of those guys, Vinny and Clay, that when he speaks, you want to lean in and listen, because not only is he well versed in, again, being a vet, but understanding the pulse, understanding the vibe, understanding just the awareness, both self and team. Here's a little tidbit that I thought was interesting from Thomas Booker from Monday.
I'm good.
Last week of the season last year, you and I talked about your desire of wanting to come back. Now being back here, seeing all the change, what's it like for you?
It's been great, honestly. Obviously, we got a couple of guys that I was familiar with Nakobe Dean and some other really, really great talent coming in free agency. So it's been awesome to see that. And obviously with Coach Leonard getting promoted to DC, that's been amazing as well. Him being the D-line coach last year, it's cool to kind of see the continuation of his vision for the defense. And, as you see right now, we're kind of instilling that standard, so it's been a great feeling just going break by break, day by day.
What does Nakobe offer that maybe the team didn't have last year and fans, because they didn't play with him like you did, don't know about?
Man, Codeine is a physical linebacker. I think that's the first thing that jumps off the tape when you look at it. But I think the next thing that you see is just instincts, right? When he sees something, he believes it, and he goes, full tilt. And as a defensive lineman, trying to work in tandem with a guy like that, it's so encouraging to see a backer that, is believing what he's seeing in front of his eyes and shooting. We can both hold each other accountable if we mess up or whatever else, but it's never going to be a question of whether we're going 100%.
What's the biggest improvement you've noticed so far in guys like Tonka Hemingway and John Olalu? What are some things that you've noticed from them from last year to this year?
Man, Tonka and Jonah have been hooping, for real. Tonka specifically, I think just with the pass rush and the fluidity of his movement, he's a different kind of mover anyways. You look at it, you can tell that he was a multi-sport athlete. He played basketball, he played baseball, all the rest of it. And you can see it kind of transition to football. He never looks like he's out of sorts. I think with Jonah, with the pass rush and the physicality, Jonah's got a frame. He's about 6'5", 6'6", 300-plus pounds, and you're starting to see him, use all the length and the power that he's got. So it's great seeing both those guys progress in the room, and we got so many young guys that are making strides every day.
Stood out to you on the offensive line today in pads going up for battle to the head.
What did you say?
Who stood out to you on the offensive line today?
I think in general, the offensive line is doing a good job of, coordinating together. Obviously, offensive line is a job that requires a lot of teamwork, communication, and coordination. I think a guy that I've gone against a good amount, Jordan Meredith, has been doing a really good job at center, just staying, physical, testing me, challenging me specifically. So I've been getting a lot of shade reps against him. Caleb Rogers, too, another guy. But there's a lot of guys on the offensive line that are making strides as well. I think the whole team is doing a good job of competing.
Early in camps, but have you seen differences in how this is run compared to past camps?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting for me because this is technically my first Raiders camp. I got traded here 2 days before the preseason game last year, so getting to see it from this kind of shade. I guess the last training camp I was in Philly, but everything's so efficient here. That's the thing that sticks out to me. Going from period to period, from individual to team, 7-on-7s, special teams periods, is all going quickly. So it feels efficient, it feels intentional, it feels purposeful, and obviously physical.
What can you say to this defensive line's camaraderie? I've seen you guys out at each other's events. Like, how much does that help with the growth when you're coming around here to an event, a training camp, and all the things you guys have done?
It's huge. It's huge. I think that it speaks a lot to the group that guys choose to hang around each other when they're outside of here. I know you guys have some coworkers that you might not actually want to hang out with outside of the office. It doesn't happen to be the case with us. So I think that transitions onto the field, right? I think that you can take coaching and critique and accountability from people better when you know that they actually know who you are as people outside of what you're doing at work. So, whether it's Max, whether it's AB, whether it's Tonka, Jonah, Quiddy, all these different guys, like, we all hold each other accountable, but we can all tell it's out of love, because there is real camaraderie and we like each other. That's what keeps a line like us together throughout the season, throughout the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of playing in the NFL.
Inside Max, he's back on the field now. We've seen him make a ton of plays. Just what have you seen from him as he gets back out there in practice?
Yeah, man, I think the thing that you look at with Max is just aggression. He sets the tempo in terms of aggression. He's going to let you know about it. And that entire feeling kind of pervades the defensive line. So, having him back out there after him not being there for OTAs has been amazing, whether it's him leading in drills or, in a team period, him blowing a run up. He's just letting you know, like, there's no reason why we shouldn't dominate every play. And that's been the case. So we appreciate having him out there and him setting the standard still.
That is Thomas Booker IV here on Monday, I should say, after the first padded practice. And guys, you could hear how effusive in his praise for Tonka, Jonah, specifically Tonka Hemingway, in terms of what they're putting on the field, right? What they're doing in the classroom, but again, how they're executing that and translating that and transitioning for, a guy like Tonka from year 1 to year 2.
Yeah, and you know who that could end up helping a lot is Adam Butler. We talk in terms of, he might be losing his job, but in reality, he also might be carving out having a better role that's more conducive, especially where he is in his career, where it's in smaller doses, thankfully, because a couple of young guys are really out there making plays, and so now you're going to need a rotation. And if Adam Butler is now a rotational guy and doing his thing and maximizing those reps, that's a really good thing for him, and it's a really good thing for the Raiders' defensive line. But in particular, the Tonka Hemingway thing is a big development. When you can hit on guys at that stage of the draft on day 3, it's worth its weight in gold right there. I mean, that's how teams are built. The good teams hit on those picks. We always get fixated with the first pick, the first round pick, second round pick, and those need to hit too. Don't get me wrong. But when you can hit a couple of doubles and a triple and maybe even a home run on day 3 consistently, that's how you build out really good rosters. And hopefully for the Raiders, that's exactly what the case was last year with the Tonka Hemingway, and this year with the players that we've been talking about in McCoy and Massis and Malik Benson.
Well, that's why, to your point, singles, doubles, triples, things of that nature. Obviously, you need Fernando Mendoza to be a grand slam, right? Like when you're looking at stuff like that. But when you're talking about, and you said you got the comp from inside the building on Malik Benson, a Nelson Aguilar type. That feels more than like a single, right? That feels like a double, maybe eking out a triple, considering where you drafted him and that kind of production, what you're getting. And that's how you start building, layers to a football team, layers to the depth of your football team. And I think that's what seems like an exciting part right now for the Raiders, is that is happening on multiple levels, multiple layers, multiple position groups. How many conversations have we had about the DB room? Just the constant rotation of the young guys that are there. So that's why I think it continues to be exciting times for the Raiders.
Yeah, and we've been talking for a few years now that it's all about procuring talent. You just keep stacking good players on the roster. However they come to you, whenever they come to you, don't worry about, oh my gosh, I don't know if we should draft our running back right here. You get talent. You assemble as much talent as possible. That's how you win football games. You couple that up with really good coaching, great work ethic, and all those types of things. But make no mistake, it does start with talent, and the ability to be able to find that all over the draft is of critical importance, and not just in the draft, but also post-draft. We're mentioning guys like Kion Sloan, and when you think about Malik being drafted where he was drafted, don't forget that guys like Jacoby Myers, he wasn't even drafted. He was an undrafted free agent and turned himself into a really good football player. So. Don't get caught up necessarily in where a guy like Malik Benson was drafted. There's reasons that guys fall. There's reasons that guys are flying under the radar. We keep talking about how it didn't necessarily work out for him in his first couple of stops in college. He went to Oregon, his third stop, and the light turned on last year. Who knows what would have happened had he stayed at Oregon? I don't know if he still had eligibility, probably not. But I'm just saying, theoretically, if he had been able to stay another year at Oregon, who knows what his draft status would have been if he backed up another really good year like last year with another really good year, or maybe even a better year this year. That could have changed everything for him. But Raiders did a good job of understanding the player and bringing him in, and he has so far paid off that belief with production and with work ethic and diligence, and is earning some more playing time. So again, I can't wait for games to start now to really see that in a football game, and that obviously is the next step for him. But so far so good, and at this point, you'll take that, because these guys know what they're looking for, and we've been around long enough. When guys are making plays like that, it's usually meaningful. There's something behind that.
And Vinny, we're live here at Raiders HQ, Raiders training camp. You never know who's going to stop by the table. And joining us now in hour number 1, live here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920, is the man known as the Wiz, Steve Wisniewski. Raiders legend, 2-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, player, coach with the silver and black. Wiz, how are you?
Oh, thank you. I am fabulous. It is so good to be here. Raider Nation, I love you. I miss you. We're at a full pads practice. I've been out mingling with the fans, and the excitement in the air, the optimism, it's amazing.
I guess let's just start here. We're 2 padded practices in. Well, the second one's about to start, about a week into training camp. When you step here to this lovely facility, what memories of training camp jump back to you? Because it was just like this for you back in the day, right? Like the facilities, the perfectly cut grass, everything, just the same, right?
I am so happy for these young men, because they have world-class facilities, a world-class organization. The Raiders spend more money on their alumni than any team in the NFL. In fact, some teams' budget for the alumni is what we spend on birthday cards to alumni. The Raiders are inviting 1,000 of us back for an alumni weekend, and that is very special. Visiting with Greg Townsend just now, former teammates Jay Schrader, Napoleon McCallum out there, we were laughing. We said, yeah, well, this is a little bit like El Segundo, and we watered the grass with reclaimed water, if that gives you any idea. You had a lingering smell from practice. But it is a world-class facility, world-class organization, and I'm just so happy for the direction of this program, and thrilled for Raider Nation and the product that's going to be on the field.
Yeah, bringing up some great memories about El Segundo. Those were special times for the Raiders, Steve. And I got to ask you, and I know you're going to be as soon as you get off our show, you're going to go watch practice, and I'm sure you're going to take a look at that offensive line, and that's where I want to start with you, and in particular with Jackson Powers Johnson. It's a young player that came in with a lot of momentum and a lot of, just some great accolades coming out of Oregon, winning awards and doing great things at Oregon. It hasn't quite translated thus far with the Raiders. What does he need to do aside from just staying on the field? And that's a skill in itself, I guess. But aside from that, What does he need to do to really solidify himself on this offensive line?
Well, you're asking a great question about a promising young player. And honestly, I think it starts not with him, but with the coach. I'm really thrilled with Rick Dennison being the coach.
Yeah.
If you look at his resume, this guy knows football. He played football as a linebacker, but he's been coaching for over 35 years. I had 13 different position coaches throughout my tenure in pro sports and college sports. And I can't tell you, but a coach makes such a difference. In the scheme makes such a difference. So I'm really excited about Dennison. And what I like about the Raider offensive line is there is no quit in these guys. It was never a lack of effort. These guys are going to work their butt off. And I like their attitude. They're come to work with a lunch pail type of mentality. And I think we're going to see huge improvement. We've got a great running back. We've got several great quarterbacks now. We've got targets to throw the ball to. That all helps the offensive line. And specifically to players, I think he's a very promising young player from what I've seen. You do have to stay healthy, right? No one can control that. You got to stay on the football field. But I think the scheme is going to be an improvement for everyone, and we'll see out of Genty even a much better year, even though it was very promising last year. But I like the scheme. I like the direction the head coach is taking the scheme, and there's nothing to go but up.
Well, what do you think about the guard's position, the guard's role, especially in Kubiak's offense and his scheme, and how important it is?
Well, yeah, so for listeners who don't know, this was many years ago, lifetime ago. I was an offensive guard myself for 13 seasons, and I believe guards need to be mobile. They got to be hostile. They're kind of the glue. We've got a great center. Centers call the protection. They get everyone on the same page. And I feel like the guards need to be the attitude. They need to be the maulers, and they need to set the tone. I always want to be the guy who helped the running back up, helped the quarterback up, and I'd always try to find someone, the kingpin of the defense, that I could try to just frustrate, intimidate, and be in his face all day so that he was more worried about me coming after him than making a tackle. So, yeah, for me, the guards are always the intimidators, the enforcers. Kind of like in hockey, there's always an enforcer out there. Tackles have to keep more of a clear head. They play more of a chess game, and they can't get riled up because they come unglued, bad things happen. Center's got his mind on the protection, and the guards are the maulers.
Steve Wisniewski joining us here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Steve, again, great to take a few moments with us. Really appreciate you and always your insight. And we know how much Raider Nation absolutely adores you. And Raider Nation always seems to adore offensive linemen, right? Like there's something about this fan base and the big guys in the trenches that they just absolutely adore. Colton Miller, I was asking him a couple days ago, obviously things didn't go the way they wanted last year as a unit. And we were talking about, moving on to this season. And he said, you could play great for 9 plays, but that one you don't is going to be all over the highlights, and you're going to get crushed for it and things of that nature. Less about last year, more just about the unit and the cohesiveness. When does that happen? Is there a perfect scenario, perfect equation? We've seen the starting group together for basically the entirety of the offseason, which has been great. You talked about availability being a big part of it. When does that cohesion really click?
Well, yeah, so back in the day when we played, we had 2 practices every day, 3 weeks of 2-a-days. And the more time you spend in the huddle together, the quicker that cohesiveness is going to come on. I always felt like by, week 3, week 4, you really knew your teammates well. Any game that you play, you're basically at 75 offensive snaps. And it takes 2, 3, 4 weeks before the unit really comes together. But what I said is I like the direction this team is going. They're playing smart. They're practicing smart. Mm-hmm. They've got a great scheme, and that really, really helps. So an offensive lineman, what's not to like? We're soft. we're cuddly. We're real people. We like to eat. And, for example, when I come to a practice like today, I don't wait to be asked. I just start shaking people's hands and walking out with the crowd and, taking pictures. I mean, I'm here for them. I've always had that mindset. And we just got to thank Raider Nation for sticking with this team through thick and thin. We've been through the tough times, I think we're ready for some good times.
Steve, I'm going to wave my magic wand. I'm going to make you 28 years old again, and you're out there on the field practicing right now in training camp with the Raiders, and you got a young quarterback named Fernando Mendoza, the number 1 pick overall, and he's trying to make that transition from college to the NFL, and you're in the huddle with him. What is Steve Wisniewski at that age with that experience in the NFL? What are you looking for from Fernando Mendoza? What do you want to hear from him in a huddle that gives you the assurances that this guy's going to be just fine?
Well, we're already seeing it, and he's doing all the right things. I would tell him, you're the leader. Don't be afraid. Don't take charge of the huddle. Be the leader. I would be a guy who picks him up every time he falls down. I'd be the guy to protect him anytime he threw an interception and just tell him, hey, listen, it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. We've got your back. Just be you. And I love everything I've seen from him on the field and off the field. He's a class act. And I'm thrilled about this selection. We never know who you're going to get when you have a draft. You don't know if he's going to be a great player. But we know this thing. This kid's going to give everything he has. Even if he's not a great player like we all hope and think, we know he's going to give us his very best effort, and I just love what this man brings to the table.
Well, I can tell you, Vinny, that Steve doesn't have to be 28 years old. He looks like if Bob Romanski came out that door behind him right now and just gave him a helmet and some shoulder pads, he would be right as rain, good to go. Steve, got a couple more snaps in you, or are we good just spectating at this point?
I coached for a couple of years. I could carry a coach's whistle maybe for a couple of years. But, I'm just happy and thrilled for these kids. It's a lifetime. It's an opportunity of a lifetime to be a part of this organization in this moment with these players, with these coaches. We all feel it's a special time. And I just want every one of them to make the most of it.
Well, Steve, we always appreciate the opportunity to sit down and chat with you. We appreciate your time, as always, for you do for Raider Nation Radio, and us here in the Morning Tailgate. Steve Wisniewski, the Wiz, joining us live from Raiders training camp. Wiz, we appreciate you. We'll see you at just about every alumni event.
Thank you. I'm thrilled. Thank you, Raider Nation.
All right, we're going to take a break, step aside here as the Raiders training camp practice continues. Individual drills are ongoing. Jesse Merrick with Silver and Black Sports Network will be joining us next here on the Morning Tailgate. Flying through into hour number 2 here on the Morning Tailgate. It's Raider Nation Radio 920 coming to you live from Raiders HQ. Raiders training camp practice number 6. Day number 7 of camp. Padded practice number 2 is currently in motion. A massive thanks to the Raiders legend Steve Wisniewski for dropping by the table here in front of field number 1 as the hoots and hollers from practice from Raider Nation in the stands continue. Richie Incognito is here taking in practice. A lot of Raiders alum in the building, outside, you get it. So from the Wiz to Incognito to our next guest, CEO, founder, Emmy Award winner here in Las Vegas, Silver and Black Sports Network, Jesse Merrick, live in living color here at the table. Jesse, what do you think of my humble abode?
Hey, we were talking before we got rolling. Not a bad setup. You're a smart man. I saw you at the Golden Knights games back in the day with the binoculars. You brought them out here for this one because on days when fans are here, they're so far away.
Yeah.
So, look, veteran move by you.
These binocs, look at it. Just try to. These things are beat up, but hey, they get the job done.
I love it, man.
All right, padded practice number 2. Yep. We're obviously watching. Give me your takeaways, not just necessarily from padded practice number 1, but we're now essentially a week into camp. What has been the biggest surprise, disappointment? What jumps off the field to you?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I kind of was talking about this yesterday with somebody. The fact that Hezekiah Massis is a dude that we're talking so much about. Obviously, he had a good offseason. He looked good in minicamp, rookie minicamp, OTAs, all that stuff. And the fact that he got the shout-out from Kubiak, in that final press conference should have told us a lot. But I kind of forgot about him, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I was just like, okay, we'll see where he's at. The fact that he was mixed in with the ones right off of the jump, that tells you how much they like this kid, and he's continued to do so now a week into camp as the pads are on and everything. Obviously, this is kind of where things just now start, but the fact that we're talking about him so much, that to me is the biggest surprise, I think, of the entire team, and that's such a critical spot, too, because Eric Stokes has it locked down. If they get it right opposite him, all of a sudden what was a pretty big weakness for them last year at corner opposite Stokes could potentially look like a really, really solid strength for him.
Yeah, and it's not just one player, but it's a couple of players that are really flashing, and I want to go there. We've been talking, Jesse, about the day 3 guys that are really showing up in training camp, showed up in OTAs as well, and have continued in training camp with Jamad McCoy. I mean, I know that he was off to the side in OTAs, but he was doing his work, and the Raiders noticed. But when you look at those day 3 guys, Jamad McCoy, Zeke Massis, Malik Benson, Kyan Sloan, who they brought in as an undrafted free agent, man, if it's early, obviously. But if those 4 players are making an impact or having a role, and maybe in some cases a starting role, that's pretty big for the Raiders to have that kind of success on day 3 as in a rookie year.
Oh, yeah. It's massive because, I mean, again, this is a team that struggled in the draft over the last handful of years. Obviously, look at all those first-round picks that are no longer on this team. And if you can fill that in with late-round guys that hit, that's huge. And, like, just on Jamad McCoy in particular, I was just having a conversation a few minutes ago with Q, and we were saying, like, that he has been out here each and every day, and it doesn't look like they're scaling back the workload or anything like that for him. And, like, even that is massive, given the fact that this guy fell to the 4th because of those injury concerns and everything. And so, like, he has been available, which is half the battle. You guys all know that. And so I'm waiting because he's going to make a run. I feel like that run is coming at corner probably within the next week here. That's, I think, when we're going to start talking about him more and inserting himself into that room there. You mentioned Malik Benson. You know, if we're talking about who we've been talking about the most on offense of the young guys, taking Fernando out of the equation, it's Malik Benson. You know, that's another dude who had a really good offseason and has continued to stack days here early on in camp and involved on special teams as a receiver, all those different things. So it seems like a really quality player to be able to get him that late. And again, like if you can hit on those picks, it's almost just like it banks for the years to come because you're like, man, you just crushed this draft. Again, we got to wait and see. I'm saying if that transpires, you just crushed this draft. All of a sudden, you gave yourself some really quality depth when that was an issue for this team, you know, for so many years.
You know, I like it when you kind of break down some of the wide receiver DB battles, one-on-ones that you've been able to observe. What are ones that stand out to you?
Yeah, especially Hezekiah Massis. I mean, he stood out just simply for the fact of, like, this is a kid that's known for being, like, light in the pants, a smaller guy, you know, came out there and was, like, physical, looked good in press coverage, kind of, jamming guys at the line and everything, was giving himself room, and just seems like he's over the top of everything. Eric Stokes stood out in a big way yesterday. I know he got called for a flag. It was super ticky-tack. He let the ref know about it. He really did. Did you hear that, Vince?
Yeah.
I probably hear it from over here.
I mean, again, my vantage point probably different than yours. Yeah. I don't know. He looked pretty as much PI as I've ever seen. Am I wrong there?
Up close, he was like in him, but it just looked like they were battling. Honestly, from my perspective, I felt it was a bit ticky-tack.
Okay, that's fair. I'll default to your vantage point.
Yeah, so he wasn't happy about that. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But I was impressed with him. Again, he so quickly has just become like the wily vet, in that room. And then again, Malik Benson seems to find some separation for himself each and every time that he's out there. And so I was impressed with those 3 guys in particular, which is really good sign, for the young dudes. Again, got to see more out of the other vets and stuff on a more consistent pace. But, it's going to be interesting to watch those battles develop. And I can't wait, too, to watch the one-on-ones with the offense and defensive line either. As a former receiver, it's hard for me to pull myself away from the receivers and DBs when they're going at it. But I can't wait to get eyes more so on the big boys as well.
Talking to Jesse Merrick here live from Raiders HQ, Raiders Training Camp, Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Let's stay there with the wide receivers as I'm watching them go through their individual drills. Coach Z, not too pleased, couple drops during this period. Not a big fan of that. But, hey, that's what training camp's for. You might as well drop them here, not later, but sometimes you can't afford to drop them as well. To that end, what do you need to see out of Dante Thornton Jr.? For all the praise that we've been giving Malik Benson, and rightfully so, Jack Besh has seemed, I'll let you solid, fine, not great, not bad.
He hasn't stood out for any bad reasons. He's just been.
But with Dante, because here's the issue that I have, and I'm using Clint Kubiak's words. This is not my opinion. If you're not the 1 or 2 guy at the top of that wide receiver depth chart, you need to play special teams. Mm-hmm. And Jack Besh obviously played a ton of special teams a year ago. Dante Thornton did not take 1 snap in special teams last year.
Yeah.
And if we're seeing Malik Benson rise that depth chart, I mean, what does Dante Thornton Jr. have to do, need to do? Can he close that gap? Is the gap too wide already? What's your thoughts on him in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I hate putting anybody behind the 8 ball already, but it feels like that gap is a bit too wide, because he doesn't necessarily, like guys of his profile, you don't often see on special teams contributing in all factors of special teams, and again, maybe he can tackle, maybe he can. We just haven't yet to see that. But to me, that's not a guy that I would want out there running around tackling on special teams, Jack Besh, obviously his profile fits a guy that could shine on special teams, given the physicality that he plays with and things like that. So I'm so fascinated to see what happens with him. I mean, hasn't it been a crazy turn? At this point last year, and really over the next 2 weeks from now from last year, we were talking all about Dante Thornton Jr. He was getting the opportunities. He looked good. He was the Malik Benson, I think, at this point, right?
It's literally how we started our show today.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, I feel like he's on the outside looking in, and so far I've seen too many inconsistencies in his game here at camp. And again, to be fair, a lot of the receivers have dropped some balls when they've been running out there on air, like the concentration, because that's all that is. That's concentration when you're not going against anybody. So Zach Kazani has been on them, but they followed that up a couple days ago with a really poor practice on air, with a really good one on air. So, again, let's not see the ups and downs of the group as a whole. Let's see some more consistency, and I think that just runs true with Dante Thornton Jr. as well. But definitely fighting an uphill battle on special teams, given, too, that there's so many other young guys that are here fighting, clawing, scratching to get their way on the roster through special teams. So he's got a real tough battle ahead of him for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned the offensive line, Jesse, and you want to see the big guys get after it. I know it's only been one padded practice that needs to be kept in perspective. I saw some stuff that DJ Glaze was struggling. That's not been the case, at least from people within the building, and it has only been one padded practice, and he's going up against Max Crosby quite a bit. So put that in perspective. But what has been your perspective so far of that offensive line?
I think on the DJ Glaze thing, he got beat by Max once. Other than that, he looked good. That's people just kind of
It's amazing that.
I didn't understand that. Sorry to jump in. I saw that yesterday too, and I'm. What are we talking about?
And it's Max Crosby. Come on. Colton got beat by him too. Are we saying Colton's been struggling?
But it's also it wasn't like he got his lunch fed to him. It was play he lost.
Exactly.
Sorry, I saw that too yesterday. I didn't want to give it the time of day, but I understand it for those that aren't out here and that don't see it. It's not like DJ Glaze has just been getting run over.
Exactly.
To Jesse's point.
And I think people got to be careful.
Just so everybody understands, I saw that too, and I texted somebody. I'm like, hey, what and nothing could be further from the truth. He's going to be fine. It's one padded practice. You're going to win some. You're going to lose some. So I think a couple of the beat writers may have either tweeted something about it or said something about it. But man, it's just like you can take a look at any particular rep at any particular time. Right, exactly, and make a big thing out of it. And trust me, nobody with the Raiders is, so I just wanted to get that out.
And I think in all of that, context matters. Make sure, and no knock on anybody that's not here. I'm not trying to do that at all, but make sure you're following the folks that are here that can provide context to it and depth to it of hey, yes, that was one rep, but outside of that, he actually did look solid. I was watching him. I was also watching JPJ, and I'll be honest, I have a lot of questions about him, and I know we talked about that a lot. He looked really good yesterday in the reps that I watched of his. I probably caught about 6 of them, and every time I was looked really good. Even on screens, he was moving. We know the kid can run for an O-lineman. He got out there, and he was doing a really solid job on the edge as well, leading the way for Ashton on a run that he really sprung on a screen there. So I was impressed with him. We saw Trey Zune working at second-team right tackle, which is very interesting, and I was impressed with him as well. I think he stood out. So, overall, with the offensive line, too, I think when you look at it as in the whole, we talk about context, we're not seeing the defensive linemen live in the backfield. That tells you a lot. The fact that we're not saying Max Crosby was wrecking practice, that tells you the O-line probably did pretty well. So that was kind of my takeaway from the first day in pads is that, they looked pretty solid. There was nobody that stood out for, the wrong reasons outside of a couple bad snaps with the second team working at center with Jordan Meredith, which I know folks love to jump all over him as a center. There were a couple snaps that weren't great in the gun, but outside of that, he hasn't stood out for wrong reasons either.
How sharp has Kirk Cousins looked in this portion of padded and then beforehand?
Man, I keep telling people whenever they ask me about Kirk Cousins, I'm just when you think about, I don't want to say vintage Kirk Cousins because I guess that's what we're seeing, but, the Kirk Cousins you think about, that's what's here. It looks like it. Like, he is so efficient. Yesterday, he went 6 for 6 in the team period and just made it look easy. And he closed it out with, like, a sliding catch to Trey Tucker. And like, you could tell he was pumped up. Trey was pumped up. And to me, that one in particular, like, I look back at Fernando's first rep of that second team session. He fumbled the snap and threw it to – no, I think it was the first rep of another team session, threw it to Malik Benson, and it was a hospital ball. I mean, if it was in a game, he would have been destroyed, and that's just like the growing pains of a rookie. It was, again, one rep, but the growing pains of a rookie where at times the ball placement hasn't quite been there. And the reason I bring that up is because when you see Kirk Cousins in a situation like that on this particular rep to close it out, protected his guy, Trey, put it low only where he could get it, not off target, low so that, like, hey, you get this and you're protected from a safety flying down and rocking you. That's the, like, small, minute details that have really stood out about Kirk, and I don't think it's outlandish to say that he has been the best quarterback here right now. Is that going to be the case 2 weeks from now? Who knows? But right now he looks far and away to be the best option for the Raiders, which is why Clint Kubiak named him the starter.
Yeah, so it's Jesse Merrick joining us live here on the Morning Tailgate from Raiders HQ. We're still watching individual drills for the Raiders, have yet to go into team period. Look, I'm not going to pretend I've seen every coaching style in the history of football. That's not me.
You'll be both.
What I will say, and I think you can attest to this, being in this market for as long as you have as I, we are seeing a very different drills in these indies, and they are different every single day. Going back to last year, and not even just last year, 2 years ago, every practice looked the same.
Yeah.
Like the individual drills, they did the exact same thing. Every single day we've seen different individual drills with the position coaches, whether it's the offensive line. I mean, I was looking at the wide receivers, and Coach Z had them down on their knees, and they were just working on their hand movement.
Yeah.
Focusing on nothing else but hand movement. And, again, I've never seen that. Not to say that, they're reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
But the coaching, what I'm getting at, is very visually different than anything we've seen here in Vegas.
I agree. I would say, like, the attention to detail of this staff stands out. There was one drill in particular a couple days ago, and a lot of folks were saying, like, oh, we ran this on our varsity high school team, whatever, da-da-da-da. Like, I played college football. I played football for a long time. I've been around a lot of different teams, and they were doing one where they were doing kickoff drills, and essentially they pause it halfway through, fit everything up, and then correct like where the guys were on their landmarks and stuff like that. We've done similar drills to that, but not in that sense, and not with the special team coordinator being there working with every single guy. That attention to detail with Joe DeCamillis really stood out to me there in that one. But again, to your point, like if you're working on hand placement for these receivers in one particular drill and then mixing up the next day, like it keeps things fresh with these guys too. And just overall, I think a very business-like approach by this staff, which – look, when you go back, and we talked about this on the show, like think about the coaching staffs that have been here and all the baggage, good, bad, whatever, that has come with a lot of them off the field. Here, it's just like, hey, it's about ball. You know, like Kubiak says the thing like no turds, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that.
Can't believe he cursed.
Yeah.
How
like,
dare you?
You know what I mean? Like everybody else on these other coaches that have been through here, you're like, yeah, I could see that coming from them.
Yeah.
You know, so like he is just all ball all the time, and you see that permeate through his staff, and I love seeing them mix the different drills up and things like that, you know, and continue to work on just small details with each of their guys. And when you stack those days together, those little details make a big difference, and I think that's what's going to be really interesting to watch. Not only at the end of camp, but also like as the weeks of the season go on as well, how they are or are not able to stack days and weeks and all those different things to see how that translates onto the field.
Hey guys, I don't want to blow everybody's mind, but we are literally talking about a Raiders game next week. It's what, 9 days away. Yeah, August 13th against the Cardinals over at Allegiant Stadium. Jesse, gut feeling on how playing time is going to be dispersed in that game, specifically at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I was talking with Ryan Hogue about that yesterday. We were both going back with like all kinds of different scenarios. I meant to go back and look and see what it was with Sam Darnold last year up in Seattle, and I ran out of time and didn't actually do it. So excuse me on that one, not having the updated info there. But I think maybe we see Kirk and them, maybe not this first preseason game. Like I bet you they'll lean a little bit more on the joint practice against the Texans and maybe go into that Texans game or something. Or maybe we see Kirk play like the first series of the final preseason game. But again, he's learning a new offense as well, even though he's got familiarity with them. I think we're going to see essentially a full half from Fernando Mendoza, probably in each of the games. And then how do Aiden and Jacob Clark fit into kind of everything else around them is what I think we end up seeing. Like
Sam Darnold played one series for Seattle in the preseason, 4 for 4 and a touchdown.
So I mean, there you go.
So that's pretty efficient.
And they go on to win the Super Bowl. So why not just follow that same one? Trot Kirk out there for a series. Again, he's a guy that's been here, done that. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case, and if that's in the final preseason game, one drive, you call it quits. Get an early look at Fernando for an entire half, especially, too, this was the question, I'll throw it back to you guys. If and when Fernando is out there, you got to have the number one offensive line out there, right? And they've got to be out there the entire time, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. But at least something that you feel very comfortable with.
Yeah, because I just don't think you can shuffle, with your number one overall pick, I don't think you can shuffle through the groupings. Because also, one thing I was talking with Adam Hill about this, too, they haven't shuffled the first-team offensive line. There's been a lot of shuffling on the 2s and 3s, but the 1s has basically stayed the same, and you can't say that for a lot of the other position groups on this team. So that's where I wonder if they're like, hey, okay, when Fernando's out there, this will be his opportunity to work with the 1s and be out there again with the first-team offensive line to take the pressure off, but also make sure you're protecting your asset. I mean, this kid was a number one overall pick. So I wonder if we see him with the first-team offensive line for a half, and then if we see Aiden out there with the second team. But again, there's so many things that go into it, because what are you going to leave Colton and Linderbaum out there that long as well? Guys that have been there kind of done that as a two. So it's fascinating to me, not only how they divvy up the quarterback playing time, but also the offensive line playing time in front of them.
How do you think the running back rotation will look in those preseason games?
Yeah, I think you don't need to see Ashton a ton, given the fact that this is going to be a kid that's going to get a lot of carries in this offense. I mean, Kubiak talked about that Christian McCaffrey type of workload for him. If that's the case, like, you load manage him as much as possible in the preseason, in my mind. And then I'd love to see a lot of Mike Washington Jr., Dylan Laube. I wonder, the other thing, though, with Hemby, if they try and stash him on the practice squad, what that looks like playing time for him, like if they try and play some games with that. Because if you get him out there and he shows out, maybe somebody will give him a shot. Like, that's going to be something that I think people need to really factor in there. Like, coaches will do that, So I wonder what the playing time will be like for Hemby. That, to me, in terms of the rotation of the running backs, is what I'm going to be watching the most in the preseason. But I think we do see a lot of Mike Washington Jr. because he's looked good in camp. But even Kubiak said it yesterday, like, we need to see more from him. We need to see him really take hold of things and also work on the pass protection as well. So, like, get those live reps against other guys out there. You can get really good work in the preseason as a pass protector. And then Laube, again, doing a little bit of everything. I think we'll see a lot of him in the preseason, too.
He is Jesse Merrick, Silver and Black Sports Network. Jesse, always appreciate the time, the insight.
Doing it live and in person, too. I love
How
this.
nice is this?
Yeah, this is great.
Feel like real people.
Yeah.
You're not an
I
AI
haven't seen
bot.
you in years, and so now, aside of passing, now I can actually see
you never come to hockey anymore.
I know.
That was where
TV,
we got to meet up.
It's all Raiders all the time for me.
Hey, how about this wind, too?
I'm liking it, man. It's too hot out here.
Breeze. And it doesn't feel like the hairdryer.
Although we're in the shade, that's probably why.
Again, we are set up nicely. Yeah. I would argue we're set up better than MD up in his perch.
I think you're right. Although he's got the high ground.
That's true.
He's probably got some. You got good binoculars. His binoculars might be a little more expensive. I don't know.
He rises. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. Jesse Merrick joining us here on the Morning Tailgate. Jesse, we appreciate you. We'll do it again next week as we prep for preseason game number 1. We will continue to bring all the sight sounds and the takeaways from Raiders training camp here at Raiders HQ here on a Tuesday on the Morning Tailgate. We'll get your calls, your thoughts, your reactions, 702-365-9200. We still have our Summer of Fun giveaway still to come here this hour, but first.
Hey, guys, when it comes to feeling better, your health, your weight, all of those important things in life, and maybe you're not feeling so well, or maybe you don't like the reflection in the mirror, and you keep saying to yourself, you know what, I got to do something about it. I'll start tomorrow. Well, look, tomorrow's run out pretty quickly, and here's the thing. You've got an opportunity right now with City MD to really change things for the better. If you're tired of feeling sluggish, frustrated with your weight, dealing with daily aches and pains, or just not feeling like yourself, it's time to take control. City MD in Las Vegas offers personalized wellness and weight management programs designed for real lasting results, but they don't stop there. City MD also provides advanced advanced pain therapy, and primary care, giving you a complete head-to-toe approach to your health. One team, one plan, built around you. More energy, less pain, better health, and real confidence. And here's the thing. Appointments are filling up fast, so stop waiting, stop putting it off. Give them a call at 725-255-7246. Ask for our good friends Andy or Claudia, and they will take it from there. Or just go to citymdhp.com right now and schedule your consultation. CityMD, stop waiting, start feeling like yourself again today.
It's very special. Visiting with Greg Townsend just now, former teammates Jay Schrader and Napoleon McCallum out there. We were laughing. We said, yeah, well, this is a little bit like El Segundo, you know. And we watered the grass with reclaimed water, if that gives you any idea. You had a lingering smell from practice. But it is a world-class facility, world-class organization, and I'm just so happy for the direction of this program and thrilled for Raider Nation and the product that's going to be on the field.
Out to the Wiz, joining us live here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Day number 2 of padded practice, and the crowd has come alive. Vinny and Clay, red zone period, 11 on 11. Kirk Cousins started the show with a touchdown pass to Brock Bowers. Second team offense comes in. Fernando Mendoza delivering one to Trey Tucker, but DeCamillis Richardson blows it up at the goal line, incomplete. And so the twos offense will get another crack at it here in red zone to give to Mike Washington Jr., and he is stuffed before he gets to the goal line. So crowd is into it. A lot of people on their feet on that side of the field as the Raiders really get into a true competition period here at Raiders training camp. Clay,
there's something to be said about some of those battles, and the DeCamillis Richardson one really excites me because we saw how little he was used last year, and that was very telling. It made you wonder, like, all right, where is he on the food chain of a team who desperately needs great DB help, but yet you're not seeing a guy you drafted and brought along. So now seeing like good news coming in on these kind of drills, especially when pads have come on, I think Richardson is somebody that's looking around the room and like, hey, they have drafted a bunch of guys to take my job. I have to go do whatever it takes to stay here.
Yeah, without question. Defense having their way right now in this red zone period. Aiden O'Connell's pass incomplete in the end zone. This is a portion of practice. I was talking about how during individual drills, right? Like we've seen a lot of different stuff, but now we're at the part where it's mano a mano once again, and this is the true competition period where the offense and defense kind of come to life a little bit as Aiden O'Connell floats one in the back of the end zone, falls incomplete. So, again, defense kind of running away early. The ones only got one opportunity in the red zone. They made the most of it. Again, okay. Kirk Cousins to Brock Bowers. That feels pretty automatic. Like I said, I half-jokingly said this, but I'm not even really joking. It feels criminal anytime they don't pass to Brock Bowers.
Well, he's one of the NFL's toughest covers, isn't he? I mean, this is going to be something that, as his career goes on, every team's going to be trying to figure out, all right, how do we stop Brock Bowers? Any Raiders opponent's going to feel that way. And for him to continue to shine and to grow, he must be really enjoying what he's able to work with, not only with Cousins and Mendoza, but just seeing how the scheme is so different right now. And for Bowers himself to be working up against a group of corners, which is hilarious, that is young and still trying to prove themselves, I'm sure that they're also figuring out, like, all right, how do we stop this guy?
The Raiders one's now 2 for 2 in this red zone drill. Kirk Cousins delivering a perfect pass to Jalen Naylor on the slant, who then dunks the football through the goalpost, really letting the defense know.
Statement.
Kirk Cousins rolling to his right and delivers another touchdown pass to Jalen Naylor at the front pylon.
Ooh.
Kirk Cousins is dealing in this period. He just ripped off his helmet and is pumped up right now and just got in the face of Jalen Naylor like, you like that, is what I would imagine. I feel like that's the only thing Kirk Cousins says when he's excited. Do you like that? Whether that's
he has nothing else in the repertoire other than that.
Whether that's by his own design or just out of, he's got to live by the brand, right? He's got to live by the brand at this point.
He built this. You got to maintain it.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins 3 for 3 in the red zone period. 2 touchdown passes to Jalen Nailor, 1 to Brock Bowers. Jesse talked about it to kick off hour number 2. I mean, Kirk has looked. I don't know what vintage Kirk is, right? Like, 'cause I obviously didn't cover him up close and personal, just watching from afar. I don't know if I would go as far to say, this is vintage Kirk. This just looks like the Kirk I expected to see in training camp. Polished, clean, and on point, right? Like, if that's what you expect a veteran quarterback to look like in training camp, especially when you pair him up with the number 1 overall pick in Fernando Mendoza, and to a lesser extent, yet more experienced, Aiden O'Connell, right? It's just going to look different, and through, a week into training camp, it has.
It's like that old saying in journalism: don't ask a question unless you know the answer. And for Cousins himself, he knows the answers to these questions when he goes out there, because it's no different from when he talked to you over at the Super Bowl on Radio Row, Media Row, where he goes, I've had the best year of my career with Clint Kubiak. He opened right up on how important it was for him to kind of like just remember how good those days were. And he set the tone. He kind of set the bridge of, hey, I'm coming to Vegas. I'm going to be with this guy because I love where this is going. Can you imagine what this is like now after a couple more weeks and months as you head into it, where he kind of like solidifies where his role is on this team because he knows the offense so well, and as he's now building so much more confidence than we've seen in the last 2 years when he was in Atlanta?
I think it's a layered effect, right? Like, not only is Kirk Cousins comfortable with Clint Kubiak, just hearing him in his ear, like literally auditorily, just he's comfortable and understand what that's like, the nuance of whatever that may be, understanding the why of what Clint Kubiak is trying to achieve. Like, his starting point is years ahead of Fernando Mendoza because he understands it. Also, nobody's been in more training camps or more locker rooms than Kirk Cousins. So there's going to be an innate comfort, confidence, even though this is his first season in Las Vegas. There's just an innate, like, yeah, been here, done that. Might be a new building, might be, new facilities, new names to learn things of that nature. But I've done this. So that in itself gives Kirk Cousins the starting point way ahead of anybody else. And we've talked about that. Like, Kirk is going to look good in training camp. I would argue, on a day like today, watching him as I am at this present moment, he looks great today. Maybe his best practice thus far. Again, practice is not done. Just the second padded practice of Raiders training camp, but Kirk Cousins looks great out there today. And that doesn't mean, like, when Kirk Cousins looks great, that doesn't mean Fernando Mendoza isn't looking good. It's not one's great, one's bad. It's just simply he looks really good today. Fernando Mendoza's having a fine day so far from what I see, but Kirk is dealing right now as the crowd just erupts on the far field because Kirk delivers a dime to Brock Bowers, which, again, we
that's what you want to see.
We have to talk about Brock Bowers because he's Brock Bowers, but at the same time, what more do we need to talk about Brock Bowers for until we see him on Sundays, right? Like, I better not see Brock Bowers in the preseason. Better not see him. I don't even want him wearing a hat. Let alone a helmet.
Right. Well, even standing on the sideline, somebody could run into you. So let's just keep him up somewhere else, like up here in the press box with us.
I don't even know if I want him in the press box near me. I might spill nacho cheese on it. I don't want to. He just needs to be in a bubble somewhere. Maybe he just stays home.
He just stay home.
Can you imagine?
We have two sets of rules for everybody. Actually, just one different rule for Brock. He doesn't have to do it.
Can you imagine that headline? Brock Bowers not at Allegiant Stadium.
Right. He's over, like, at the roller coaster over at the Strat, just enjoying the sights. But here's another thing that I like from the observations is that as great as Brock Bowers is, I would have to think that there's still plenty of need for finding other receivers wide open. And when you talked about that touchdown pass to Jalen Nailor, I think it shows you that, all right, while everyone is kind of like grouping up and trying to figure out, all right, let's not let Brock Bowers beat us. Who else is coming open, right?
Holy moly. Sorry, Clay. Zeke Masses.
Uh-oh.
Full Superman. knocked what would have been a walk-in touchdown 40-yard bomb to Malik Benson. Just put on the cape, full Superman, knocked it away, popped up, and did the, I don't know how to describe this on radio, but did the Z. Did the Z with his hands. So he connected the two thumbs and made a Z with the palms. So the kid's got his own brand already. He's got his own celly, if you will.
Oh, I love that.
What a play. What a play that was.
The Z is in command. That is good. Well, that's exactly what it's exactly what we weren't seeing in years previous from the DB group on a consistent basis. And it seems like every day somebody keeps talking about something special that is Hezekiah Massis has done.
Man, that was a hell of a play. Up on the text line, Raider Sean says, no red zone work for Mendoza. You talk Kirk and even O'Connell, but nothing about Mendoza. Did I miss he was obviously in red zone. He had one throw to Trey Tucker at the near pylon, but DeCamillis and Richardson blew it up. It was incomplete, knocked the ball out of Tucker's hands. And then his next rep was a handoff to Mike Washington Jr.
Okay.
That got stuffed at the goal line. So 2 snaps there, and then did not see the rest because the third team got a few snaps and then they moved on to the next period. So they're out of the red zone drill now. They're doing so the quarterbacks are bouncing between offensive line work and then on the other field kind of one-on-ones with wide receivers and DB. So we'll continue to give you all the oohs and ahs that are taking place here at Raiders HQ. But right now we were a bit delayed, but we will not be denied. Delayed but not denied, Clay.
Thinking about cracking open a beer.
Man, that sounds delicious. But we got work to do. It's the Summer of Fun presented by Raider Nation Radio 920 and our friends over at Terrible's. Who wants to take a trip to Yellowstone National Park, Clay?
Over here, let's go.
Clay, I didn't believe that.
No.
I didn't believe that.
I've been to the Grand Canyon. I've been to the hotel at the Grand Canyon. But Yellowstone is on the mix. I have to get there. But this time around, we're giving you a chance to have like 4 nights in the cabin. Right?
4 nights, airfare, compliments of your Summer of Fun, Raider Nation Radio 920, and Terribles. But it's not terrible. It's fun. Summer of Fun. All you got to do is text in the keyword of the day, 702-365-9200. Clay, the word of the day here on a Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. The word of the day is...
energize.
Is that the word? That's a great word.
Energize. Isn't that great?
All right, I'll spell it. E-N-E-R-G-I-Z-E. Energize. Text in the word energize to 702-365-9200. You are entered for a chance to win 4-night stay. Yellowstone National Park, plus the airfare to get there. That's right.
We're back here on Raider Nation Radio, the Morning Tailgate. Catch us on the X at RNR 920 AM, as well as up on our brand new YouTube page, Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. Fantastic work of the sights and sounds from Raiders training camp, as well as up on Instagram. And Vince, I know it's very exciting to go and see what's happening on the field, but it's great work to see how defensively this Raiders team is starting to change with Rob Leonard's new identity.
Yeah, without question. Sorry, got in a daze there. Just a little 7-on-7. 7-on-7 on one end.
It's all right.
And some one-on-one O-line, D-line drills. O-line actually having their way right now with the defensive linemen in their drills. So I think that's music to Raider Nation's ears. But to your point, yeah, Rob Leonard's defense, what's it going to be like? What's it going to look like? We're trying to dig into what we're seeing, and we're trying to ask the questions to the players themselves of what they expect out of this defense. Jeremy Chin enlightened us a little bit on his experience thus far into training camp with Rob Leonard as DC.
First practices has just the level of intensity has increased now. How was that for y'all, you guys, today?
I think it went pretty well. I mean, you never know until you really watch the tape, but the intensity was there. I think we were flying around, as a team and everything. So, we'll go back and look at it, but it felt pretty good.
I think you got the first hit with the pads on. How did that feel just to pop someone?
It felt good. It's been a long time. You know what I'm saying? So, it felt good.
Robinson, in this heat, how do you manage that? And do you think it helps you come regular season?
The heat? How do we manage it? Just hydrating, staying hydrated. I mean, they do a great job keeping element drinks and water and everything for us on the sideline. So just drink as much as possible, try to replenish.
What do you think Teron Johnson adds to the secondary? Most of his career in Buffalo was playing in the nickel.
Yeah.
We've seen him play a lot as safety so far during camp. So what do you think that versatility provides for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's been impressive. Even just back in the spring, just talking about the playbook and trying to see just the different areas that he'll be on the field and, asking each other questions and how we see certain things and to now see it here in the fall. I think it's helped our defense. It's going to continue to help our defense a whole lot as the year goes.
How are you hoping to grow this season?
Personally, be a better leader, on and off the field, but, continue to make a difference on the field and bring guys along with me.
Coach Robinson said he liked the leadership that the older guys in the room are showing the younger guys. You said you wanted to grow more as a leader. How have you kind of taken those steps so far?
Using my voice more. It's easy to come in and just, put my head down and work. But the more I use my voice, I think, guys listen to that and bring guys along with me.
Jeremy, was it that you guys were able to bring back Eric Stokes this year?
It's been big for us. There he goes right there. He was going to be a part of this interview, but now he's distracted. So, no, he's been good for us, of course. He shut down the whole side of the field last year. So, having a guy like that on your defense, it'll make everybody better.
Jeremy, you're such a physical player. Is this time of year frustrating for you and you have to pull up and can't necessarily deliver the big blow that you love to do?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's still football at the end of the day. You get to throw, you get to put your pad on people, but you don't want to get used to creating bad habits as far as just not finishing certain plays. But it is still football at the end of the day. We got pads on, so getting that condition is also a big part of it as well. Running around with all these pads on too.
There's a lot of youth right now in the defensive backs coming in to the team now. Just wondering, what is it like kind of meshing together some of the veterans and some of the younger guys?
Yeah, it's cool. Like I said, we got a lot of people playing in a lot of positions, so just seeing these young guys kind of learn, as they go, it kind of reminds me as myself when I was a younger guy too, just kind of learn different spots, and then kind of seeing the growing areas and areas for growth, and come back the next day and you can see the difference in the growth from each guy. So it's pretty cool to see.
New faces and new staff. Does it feel kind of like a new organization in a sense?
Yeah, it does actually. We watched some clips from practice yesterday in the team meeting. It's wow, it's almost not embarrassing in a way, but it's we're so much better now than looking at certain things from last year.
How would you describe the culture that Glenn Kubiak is setting?
I think he's bringing a lot out of the players, which is cool to see. One thing he's encouraged us is to show our personalities out there on the field. So just bringing energy from that side of things. That he puts a lot of trust in us, and I think as a group we appreciate that.
As Raiders safety Jeremy Chinn. Look, Jeremy Chinn doesn't say a lot, right? But when he does, you listen, and that second to last answer that he gave at the podium yesterday, to me, might have been the biggest eye opener of anything we've heard all training camp. Right, Clay? When he sits there and he goes, you're watching the tape and you're comparing it to last year and you're looking at where we are now. I don't want to say it's embarrassing, but it's we're so much better was the vernacular. We're so much better, and that's with a brand new first-time DC. What a starting point this is for the Raiders, and that's why, again, I don't know what that's going to mean during the regular season, right? But just in terms of the confidence of the group, feels like there's more talent in it. And for them, they're being taught, they're being coached, they're being talked to in a way that seems to be resonating. 702-365-9200 is the number. Ryan McFadden of ESPN getting set up. Will join us to kick off hour number 3 live from Raiders training camp right here in the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio. It's hour number 3 here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio, 9:20. Vince Sapienza, Clay Baker coming live from Raiders HQ. Raiders training camp, second day of padded practice. We are officially back into team period 11v11. Practice set for another 30 minutes. Longer day today than yesterday. And then after, we will hear from players, coaches, and we will bring that to you live here on the flagship for the Silver and Black. Joining us now, tableside in front of field number 1, perfectly shaded. At least for another 20 minutes. ESPN's own Ryan McFadden. Ryan, what do you think of my new office space?
I love it. Like I told you before earlier. Like, I appreciate you getting me out the sun for a few minutes.
I'm here for you.
Whatever it takes.
I'm here for you. All right, Ryan. Let's start here. From my vantage point, my binoculars and my eyes are telling me Kirk Cousins is having himself a day. Arguably his best day of training camp, and for all the jaw-jacking and chirping we saw from the defense, specifically on Sunday, it really feels like the offense is having their way today. Kirk Cousins, multiple times in red zone periods, 7-on-7, is finding Jalen Nailor in a massive way today. I'm curious what your thoughts are as we watch the offense go to work in team period.
Yeah, to me, like you hit on all the points. This is probably one of Kirk Cousins' best performances so far during camp. You know, we're still early. This is the 6th training camp practice. But the thing that stands out to me is Jalen Nailor. We know we've been waiting for the wide receivers to start making some big plays today, and we've seen that quite a bit. We've seen Jalen Nailor and Kirk Cousins connect a couple of times on touchdowns during the red zone period. We just saw Trey Tucker just now catching a pass over the middle off a throw from Kirk Cousins. And then if you go to one-on-ones, you saw Malik Benson's footwork and his ability to create separation on Jamal McCoy. Jack Best, someone who's had a very quiet training camp so far, he called a goal ball from Mendoza during that one-on-one period. Saw Dante Thornton make a few plays as well. So overall, it's been a good day.
And right, here's the other thing, and I just want to make sure, again, context matters, right? Because everybody wants to know about Fernando Mendoza, and rightfully so. But when we're sitting here saying Kirk Cousins is having a great day, and I don't think that's over dramatic, it's been a great day, that doesn't mean Fernando's having a bad day, right? Like, it's not one or the other. I thought Fernando's had a fine day to this point, but Kirk has kind of reached another level at this point in training camp. Specifically, when we were watching Red Zone, his ability to find Jalen Nailor over the middle, these quick passes, seeing the defense before they even react, has been something that stood out for me. In terms of that dynamic, what's been your biggest takeaway from Kirk to Fernando? Not necessarily in terms of the battle, but just seeing them kind of run their own race.
You can tell, Kirk Cousins is the veteran in the room. You can see the comfortability in the offense, his quick decision-making out here on the field, and that doesn't take away from Fernando Mendoza. I think this has been, a much better performance compared to the last 2 days. I see he's a little bit, his accuracy is a lot better. Mm-hmm. Mendoza's accuracy is a lot better today. He looks on point and making his throws. So both quarterbacks overall has played well, but Kirk Cousins has had the edge.
Well, I like how you said that in your camp updates up at ESPN.com, where you talked about Kubiak's line, where there'll never be a perfect game or practice. And so I don't expect Mendoza to be perfect right now. I think that goes a long way, especially when you see how well Kirk is able to play and could lead by example. Mendoza can absorb that.
Yeah, that's important, and that's the thing about this whole quarterback battle. You want Mendoza's to make these mistakes, and I think having Kirk Cousins as your QB1 for the time being, that allows him to kind of get these mistakes out the way. So whenever his name is called, he's going to be confident, he's going to be ready to go, and he's going to have a stronger grasp of the offense. Whereas if you throw him right now out there in week 1, he's going to make a lot of mistakes, but I think they're trying to diminish him just a bit by letting him play behind Kirk Cousins.
Ryan McFadden of ESPN joining us here live on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Right, all right. We had this discussion, you and I, at the TV station, and I want to have this discussion here in a bit of longer form because it's fascinating to me. It's twofold. One, I don't know if there's been a player who's caught more passes than Malik Benson in training camp. From anybody, from everybody. I mean, the volume that Malik Benson is getting every time he's out there. On cue, as you were finishing your answer, and I'm gearing up for this one, Malik Benson catches back-to-back passes from Fernando Mendoza, right? To that end, How good, in your estimation, has Malik Benson truly been in this training camp? And what does this mean for Dante Thornton Jr.?
I think Malik Benson is making a strong case for wide receiver 3 on this depth chart right now. He's figuring out ways to get open, whether it's like in the middle of the field. He has really good footwork. He's just, like you said, whenever the ball is thrown to him, he seemed to figure out a way to make plays. And that's gonna be challenging for Dante Thornton and Jack Bech. Those are that's like the race for that wide receiver 3 role, because it seems like Tucker and Naylor are
right.
1 and 2 by default at the moment. But like Malik Benson, he's really setting up to put himself in a position to be a major contributor in year 1. And given the depth at this wide receiver room, he walked in with that opportunity to do so, and he's excelling. And he's making a strong case so far.
As far as like the ability for those wide receivers to make a case for themselves, what could be said about what Brock Bowers does on a daily basis in these practices as you continue to watch a young star becoming even further ahead up the ascendancy to being an All-Pro?
Brock Bowers, man, you watch him during training camp. We saw it last year as well. Like, he looks like he's going to be an All-Pro this year. For some reason, I don't know how he does it, and he just figure out a way to get open. Like, no matter what, every time they throw the ball to the middle of the field, there's Brock Bowers. He's getting behind multiple defenders. He constantly figures out ways to get open on that field, and that's going to be huge. No matter who is the quarterback, whether it's Mendoza, whether it's Kirk Cousins, he's going to be like a security blanket, and I think he's going to put up a ton of numbers. We have seen so far during the team period how Cousins constantly targets him. I've said it multiple times. I think he's going to have a record break. He has a potential, if he stays healthy, to have a record-breaking season in terms of like most targets, most receptions by a tight end in a single season.
We were also talking yesterday, you and I, and you brought up Tonka Hemingway. This guy, again, I don't necessarily know whose job he's taken. Could be Jonah, could be Adam Butler, based on how they do the rotation. But the way I described it today is he has carved out a starting role for himself, seemingly, early on in camp. Still a lot of runaway. I understand there's a lot of things that can still be done. But it feels like he is, when you mention, okay, who are the ones running out there? It's Max. It's Kwity Paye. Next guy you mentioned on that D-line, it's Tonka Hemingway.
Yeah, since the training camp started, when you watch them during team period, when they come out with the ones, it's always Tonka Hemingway. It's like he's always out there on the field. He's like a mainstay with that first team defensive line. They've alternated between Adam, Jonah, Thomas occasionally with the ones, but like Tonka Hemingway is always there. He's been very solid against the run. You see him have some solid pass rush reps, which is last year we saw him flash in the pass rush game, having 4 sacks in the final 5 games of the regular season. So I've liked what I've seen from Tonka Hemingway. He was solid when they didn't have the pads on, and then they got the pads on. He's still looking well. So I can't wait to see how he plays when they get these preseason games going.
What about guys like that? They're in a contract year, like Malcolm Kuntz needs to step up in the regular season. What have you been able to notice from him, or at least some of the power that's coming from the edge position, other than Max Crosby?
I think they have chance for some solid depth at the edge. I think with Malcolm Kuntz, I think he's a guy who can potentially carve himself a role, whether it's on third downs where they're going to need someone to create more pressure on the quarterback. I think that's probably the best role for him, alternating between him and Kwity Paye. I think Kwitty's going to probably, they brought him in to start on the opposite side of Max. We've seen that so far during the team period, because I think he can probably add a little bit more value in terms of run defender. But I think for Malcolm Kuntz, who's still trying to prove himself, I think he has a chance to make some noise. That's kind of like being on third downs, and when the opposing team needs to throw that ball, they're gonna have him out there trying to create more pressure.
It's Ryan McFadden of ESPN here with us live on the Morning Tailgate. I want to go back to the wide receivers. Malik Benson, as they wrap it up team period right now, going through a little hydration break. We got about 20 more minutes left in practice. Malik Benson got 4 passes in that team period. But I say that, and going back to Kirk Cousins, Jalen Naylor, if Jalen Naylor proves to be that quote-unquote number 1 for this team, right? And I think we've had this discussion many times. The Raiders are still looking for their true prototypical number 1. But if Jalen Naylor ends up being their number 1 this season, I might go back to this practice on August 4th as the one where he kind of emerged, because him and Kirk have been on point, on the same page all day today. Clint Kubiak talked about if you're not a 1 or a 2, so if you're not Naylor or Trey Tucker, basically, you better play special teams. What can Dante Thornton Jr. do to stay on this team? I don't want to put anybody on the roster bubble yet. It's too early in camp to do that. We have plenty of time to do that, Ryan, right? But I mean, we're also seeing what we're seeing and not seeing. I mean, when's the last time you saw Dante Thornton Jr. come down with a pass? Or it hasn't been there. What does he have to do?
He's really having a tough camp, and I think it's also too a matter of like the offense that he's played against. Like last year with Chip Kelly, he had a lot more opportunities to show off his speed on those go routes. Yeah. Because if we go back to last year when he was like a training camp standout, a lot of those passes were like those stop and go routes, like a lot of deep balls thrown to him, and that's where he makes his money. But where Kubiak, that's not his style. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a lot more plays in the middle of the field. If you go back to Seattle, that's where JSN and how
catch and runs,
catch and runs, and that's why you seen Jalen Naylor succeed today. Malik Benson, we go back to him. He's had more success. I don't think what this offense is asking their receivers to do, I don't think Dante Thornton fits, because he has a limited route tree. On top of that, he does struggle to create separation. So it's hard because, he's not doing much on special teams as well. Yeah. Go back to Malik Benson. Guess what do they have him doing? He's out there fielding punts and kick returns. So it's going to be tough. And you feel bad for Thornton because when you look at him, he has the size, he has the speed, and you're like, man, this guy has a chance. He looks like an opposing player on the field, but it's not translating out here. And it's hard to see how his stock has fallen so far during camp.
Especially at this time last year when his stock almost couldn't have been higher, right? Yeah. Like he was already being dubbed the steal of the draft. And again, we were seeing what we were seeing, but now you look at the competition. Derek Young comes over from Seattle. And you get into the numbers game. He was the special teams ace. He was a core 4 guy up in Seattle. And then you look at Jack Besh, who most of his snaps came on special teams a year ago. It's tough stuff right now for Dante Thornton Jr. Ryan McFadden of ESPN joining us here on the Morning Tailgate. Just a few more with you, Ryan, as we kind of wrap up our time and the Raiders wrap up their practice. The offensive line, for all the rotations we've seen, at DB, wide receiver, we could even talk about the quarterback, just the snaps and reps. We have not seen rotations happen along the offensive line. What does that tell you? And is that just by design, or do you think jobs have been won? JPJ, Caleb Rogers, Trey Zune, what do you make of that position?
I think right now, you're looking at this starting offensive line. If I'm making predictions right now, what we've seen from this, you got Colton Miller left tackle, Spencer Buford at left guard, center Tyler Linderbaum right guard, JPJ right tackle, DJ Glaze. I think that's going to be your starting offensive line week 1. Now that could change during the regular season based on performance, injuries, and whatnot. But I think we're going to go into the season with that offensive line because you want to kind of have that figured out early. Because you want to have that chemistry down with the guys up front as well as with the quarterback. So I think they know that. So they're trying to, figure that out quick. We've seen this same group since OTA. So I think that's going to be your starting, offensive line for the moment. I think the second team reps are important for Trey Zune and Caleb Rogers because if they need them to replace Buford or JPJ or DJ Glaze, their number will be called, and you've seen Trey Zune. That's the one you want to watch out for because he's gotten reps everywhere. We've seen it at right guard, we've seen it at center.
Where does he end up? Because that's fascinating.
Tackle. I think the team views him more of an interior lineman. They think his size his size can be a little bit more imposing on the inside when going against interior D linemen. But they do view that he can add some help at right tackle because he's had experience at offensive tackle back at Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. So you can't rule him out there. Where if injuries pop up during the game, you need like an emergency tackle. He can fill that void along with Charles Grant. But I think the takeaway here with this offensive line, if they can get better production, they have a lot of depth there. You know, they have Jordan Meredith, who's can play 2 guard and center. Charles Grant has a lot of upside. Caleb Rogers, Trey Zoom. So
Clay, did you just? I'm sorry. Did you just hear what he just said?
You know what? It sounds great, and I think
what a difference a year makes.
Think about that. Like the same group of characters have now provided depth. At the very least. I love this, Ryan.
Ryan, that in itself feels like a win at this point.
I say that because it's like the guys I just brought up.
Yeah.
Last year, you got people coming back healthy. And a lot of the guys I brought up, they were in starting roles in the middle.
Right.
Will Punton was a center at some point. Jordan Meredith.
Yes.
There's guys where I'm talking about playing that roles where we're forced to play significant snaps on the starting offensive line. So that's why I said if, offensive line coach Rick Dennison, I think to me is the unsung hero or someone who's going to be the key to.
He's the weapon.
He's the weapon, really. If you hear the coaching staff talk about Rick Dennison, this is the guy. If there's improvement in the offensive line from last year to this year, it's because of Rick Dennison. So they're very hopeful that his teaching of the outside zone scheme and his relationship with Kubiak, even going back to his dad, Gary Kubiak, over the years, that continuity and chemistry that can help them, has some form of success. So yeah, I you still have to wait to see what the preseason games hold, but it seems like they already have something in place with their starting offensive line.
Yeah, I was thinking just speeding ahead of that first preseason game next week. What do you think of the offensive line that starts or plays, especially if Mendoza is out there?
If I'm the Raiders, I would love to see Mendoza with that first team offensive line for a few snaps.
Coleman and Linderbaum.
Yes, because you want to see you want them to have that chemistry. You want to see how they look. He looks with them. I know we're not getting a lot of that out here during the practice field.
Right.
So I'm unsure if we will see that translate in the preseason opener. But why not? That's
fascinating. Yeah, it's a fascinating decision
because if Kirk Cousins is your QB1, I'm expecting him not to play a lot of snaps. You're probably going to get a series or two from Kirk, and then they're going to move on to Mendoza. And you will think Mendoza gets the majority of the reps in that preseason opener. So with that said, you will hope let him get a series with the first team offensive line. Then you can bring out the second team guys. But I would love to see Mendoza play behind that first team offensive line.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. That's a fascinating decision for Kubiak to make, to play one Colton Miller extended time just because of his history. You want him healthy, and you saw what the offensive line looked like when he had to go out. And by that same token, you have the most expensive interior offensive lineman in NFL history, and you need this team to get off the ground running, regardless of what the wins and losses look like, just for a foundation. That is going to pose a very fascinating decision for Clint Kubiak. Ryan, one more before we get you out of here. They're going to have the day off tomorrow, right? And then it's back at it, and then a couple more practices. We're into kind of game week, right? So this acclimation period that we saw the first week leading up to pads, at what point is the honeymoon phase over of the excitement for pads and we get into the dog days of training camp? And when do we start seeing the separation of different position groups, competition, what have you?
I think we're going to start seeing that after Arizona.
Okay.
So after that stadium practice next week, followed by the preseason game week 1.
Yeah.
It was the first preseason game. I think we're going to start seeing that separation because the following week is the joint practice with Houston, and then you got that second preseason game. And typically that second preseason game is that's where you're going to see the starters get a little bit more reps compared to before. And then you got that joint practice, and we're really going to see the separation at the joint practice because you're going to see, all right, which offense is going to go out there against the Texans' first-team defense?
Yeah.
Which first-team defense is going to go against, the C.J. Stroud and those guys? So that's where I think you're going to see the real – I think after – preseason game number 1, the honeymoon phase is over because you have to get ready for that joint practice and that preseason game against one of the better defenses in the National Football League. So you're going to see, I think that's where you're going to kind of get a clear idea of where things are at. And I think, I think after that is you're going to have a clear sign who's your starting quarterback. Even though we already know who it's going to be just by the reps, it's not. But I think you can make an official decision after that preseason game against the Texans because for a lot of those guys, because that final game against the 49ers, they're not going to play. Crosby's not going to play. Brower's not going to play.
Are we going to see any Crosby in the preseason, you think?
That's a good question.
See, I only asked the good ones.
I think it's going to be hard not to look. That's good.
See, he's battling himself right now.
Because it's like, I think Crosby will want to go out there, just his mentality.
Of course.
But, like, do you do it after 7 months of rehab? And, like, if you see him on the field, it doesn't even look like he had knee surgery. He looks good. So, if anything, get him out there for maybe like a snap or two, and after that, like
a snap or two, you're not getting him off the field unless it's punt return. Like he's not.
It's like
Malcolm Kuntz can run in and be like 9-8, 9-8. He's like, no, you get out of here.
But like they want to, they still want to be cautious with him. Even though he's hardly come off the field on first team reps, I know they still want to be cautious with him. And Spytek said during the owners meeting how they've had conversations with him already about managing the snap count. So I'm very interested to see if they do. My prediction, I think he goes out there for 2 snaps and then he's done.
2 snaps.
Yeah. If you, like,
we were talking about this again a little bit earlier. And I told Clay, I said, I don't even want Brock Bowers at Allegiant.
Right.
I just want him home. You stay home. I don't even trust us as media up in the press box. We might trip. We might trip him. We might bump in. We don't need any of that. I don't trust you, Ryan, for spill your nacho cheese or your hot dog ketchup.
If there's any guy you will want to sit for all 3 preseason games, which I don't think he would, is Brock Bowers. This offense goes as far as Brock Bowers takes them, and they need him. Like if you take him out, this is the drop off in the passing game would be huge. So yeah,
is that the order you would be in terms of untouchable preseason? Brock, Max,
and Colton Miller.
You need that left.
There it is. You need that left tackle.
There's a topic for next week. No spoilers. Ryan McFadden of ESPN. Follow him on the X at Ryan McFadden _Ryan. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we're shaded here the whole time, so you come by anytime.
Oh, I might stick around here.
You stay around all you want. Ryan McFadden of ESPN, 702-365-9200. We'll get to your thoughts up on the text line. We'll open up the phones. Comments, concerns, thoughts, reactions to what you're hearing, seeing, reading. Raiders training camp. It's the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 9.
I think the most important thing is we go watch our tape, and then we talk about what is acceptable and what is not, what effort looks like, what it doesn't look like, and then we let the players go set that standard. So it's their game, not ours.
That's Raiders head coach Clint Kubiak talking about what he wants his team to look like, be defined as. Big thanks to Ryan McFadden of ESPN for joining us here in hour number 3. And, Trey Zune III has been operating at guard and center for the first few days, but he's operating at right tackle in team drill today. So, again, talking about that versatility.
Yeah, I love that.
And Clint Kubiak talked about, if you're not a starter, right? He basically said at any position group, if you're not a starter, you have to be versatile. And I don't know if there's a more versatile player on the field than Trey Zune III.
Yeah, really, guard spots, left tackle, center. What he was doing at Texas A&M was exemplary. And I love how Ryan kind of noticed that they felt that the Raiders feel like as far as Zune goes, he represents kind of a mismatch at guard, just considering his size and the fact that he's been such an athletic blocker as a 4-year starter. That's probably what his best role is as far as a scheme fit for this zone and the outside zone.
Yeah, he's a monster out there. he for any position he's playing, he looks big. So I guess that's a good thing. Also, Clay, I don't know what else to say. If Malik Benson is running a route, he is being passed to, he is catching it, the crowd is roaring for number 19.
This is good. This is a star in the making.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know what he's going to be, right? Like when the regular season rolls around. But I thought Ryan said it best. This went from a guy that was going to be a special teamer, return kind of specialist, at least when he was first drafted. It has the makings of somebody who could be a major contributor to this team.
And to think how crazy everyone was so desirous for a second-round wide receiver for the Raiders to find in this draft, right? And even when Trayton Stukes was drafted, Denzel Boston was still out there. So it makes me laugh a little bit inside of how the inner sanctum of that war room for the draft, they were like, oh, we got this guy in our back pocket. They don't know what we think Malik Benson's all about, and we can't wait to draft him. And really, you never get this kind of great return out in the 6th round. But this is something that is becoming very, very special because they're throwing a lot of different things at him, and he's still finding a way to succeed.
Up on the text line, Snake Man says, guess I'm dying on the Cousins is here to fast-track this Kubiak offense hill. Like I said, it's just as much about developing this wide receiver core and offense so when Fernando grabs the wheel, he can lift us above the proverbial Mendoza line. And it's not a total waste of time if Fernando doesn't play right away from day one. If Cousins actually benefits the young players' development, it's okay to get it wrong sometimes.
Oh, I love that point because what you are doing is you're helping the careers and trajectory for Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, by having somebody that understands the offense. Cousins can help them reach new heights. And now and eventually what this could look like is sustained drives on the field and red zone targets and all the things that you should be getting with an offense, especially for Kubiak. But this is something where if you have Cousins at the fold to begin week 1, you know that the other weapons on your offense are going to get fed as well. And you don't have to wait for a learning curve from a rookie quarterback.
Team drill just ended. Practice looks like, is that a wrap on practice? Was that the double horn?
Did they ask you?
They did not ask me, which is why I'm a little perturbed. I hope they didn't sound that double horn. It looks like that's the end of practice. If that is the end of practice, practice ended with an Aiden O'Connell bomb to Chase Roberts in the back of the end zone. And yes, that is a wrap on practice as the referees are heading indoors. When the refs head indoors, that means the day is done. Practice ends with a touchdown pass from AOC to Chase Roberts, who is a name that might need to keep an eye on as well. Haven't talked a lot about, but he is somebody, when given the opportunity, has made a few plays, and he makes another one here to wrap up padded practice day number 2. Here for the Silver and Black at Raiders HQ, Raiders training camp coming to you live. We're going to hear from some members of the defense, Nakobe Dean being one of them. Kwity Paye also supposed to step to the podium later today. I understand Rick Dennison, offensive line coach, supposed to meet with the media here within the next 30 minutes or so. We'll try and bring you as much as we can here on Raider Nation Radio 920. Until then, special teams coordinator Joe DeCamillis met with the media yesterday. And it was interesting because we were talking about versatility, right? If you're not a starter, you better be versatile. And versatile means being able to play special teams as well. Practice is done, but the entire team right now seemingly running width of the field gassers. Width of the field gassers. So not full field, width of the field gassers. Again, something different we've seen every day at the end of practice. Good to see that. Keeps them guessing, keeps them on their toes. Joe DeCamillis is probably a big fan of that. He wants conditioning A-OK. Here is the Raiders special teams coordinator this week.
All right, how's everybody doing? Awesome. What do we got?
Coach, I'd like to ask you specifically about your attention to detail. I mean this as a compliment. You're a perfectionist. Would you talk about how that parlays into getting that into your players, sir?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. That there might be some people that would disagree with that, but no, for real. I think the way that we get it across to our players is we call it one down, right? In the kicking game, you really only have one down to get it right. It's either fourth down, which obviously bad things can happen if you don't execute, and then on kickoff or kickoff return, you have one play. There is no second or third down to get it right. So, we try to get that across to our guys as much as we can, and then just as far as all the drills and all the setup and all that stuff, I've got an unbelievable assistant. His name's Tim McConnell, and then Marquise Williams. They're the ones that get me organized. So they're really they should be commended also because, that's what we want. We want to make sure that time is of the essence and it's really well organized, and that's hopefully what's getting out there.
What have you seen from Kansai that has truly impressed you so far this season?
Well, he did a good job of working in the offseason after we left here. He worked with a couple guys down in San Diego, and you can see a little bit more power in his kicks. But he's done a good job so far. We haven't had a lot of live kicks today. We thought we were going to get more in that 2-minute, but we only had the one. So I'm pleased with where he's at, but he's got a lot of work to do left.
How much is just camp, and how much is it also the veterans got the experience?
Well, yeah, you got experience, but I mean it's a position battle, right? I mean we're competing. It's everybody out here. They're competing. Yeah, there's some spots where guys are going to be for sure, but we want to have competition all the way throughout this team. That's how Coach got it started, and that's how we want to get this thing going.
So much more important now too. How do you balance kind of the better kicker on field goals with who can do the kickoffs that you guys need?
Right, that's a great question. The kickoffs are different, though, than they used to be, right? Because now, you're not hitting it out of the end zone. If you had a guy that wasn't strong enough to hit out of the end zone before, you were in trouble. But now, because of the placement and because of the kind of kicks we'll give, some we call them dirty kicks, it'll be a little bit different kick. You don't have to have the same power. Now, do you have to be able to execute them? Heck yeah, you better be able to execute them. Otherwise, they get the ball at the 40, kick the ball out of bounds. So it's an important factor for sure.
Clint was talking on Friday about 90% of these guys don't have an established role on this team yet, and a lot of them will need to make the team on special teams. Just how, at these early stages of training camp, can guys differentiate themselves in teams?
Well, first of all, it's great that the head coach is saying that because there's a lot of head coaches in this league that really don't care about it, and he does, which is great. It's one of the reasons I came here. But the second part of that question is how they differentiate themselves. We have 3 teams that we're working with right now. They have names of the teams, and it's a competition every day. So we carry points with each one of those guys. So when we see a guy that's got a lot of points, we know he's doing a good job right there. Whether it's a hustle play, whether it's a tackle, whether it's a great block, whether it's using a finishing technique we're coaching, we try to get that competitive as much as we can also, and that'll help them as far as getting started.
Upside. Cole's leadership, being low in and been in for a long time, not just only getting the guys acclimated, but pushing them on the field.
Well, I think A.J. Cole is a guy that's definitely underappreciated around the league. He's a guy that I think deserves to be a leader, and what we try to tell the specialist is, even though you're not out there practicing 100% every single time, those guys have got to see you doing uncommon things. So when he's in the weight room working and when he's doing things as far as in tackling drills and stuff like that, and they see that, they see the leadership, and he's just a really, really good person, a really, really good player, and a really, really good leader.
What kind of upside does Malik have in the return game?
You saw the speed in college, and obviously, coming from college, I did see a little bit more of. There's not a lot of great punters, and what he's going to have to show us is he's going to be able to catch an NFL punt, which is a lot different than a college punt, in my opinion. So that's going to be where it's at. But I mean, he's got playmaking ability. He's tough. He puts his head in there, and I'm excited to have the guy for sure.
Your thoughts on Jermod as a punt returner? He's so quick.
Yeah, no question. Hopefully we can get that. We didn't see that in spring because he wasn't able to practice as much. He did have one today that looked good in that drill, so hopefully we can get him going because he's definitely going to be a plus if we can get him out on the field for sure.
You've seen Trey take a lot of the punts as well. What have you seen from his game that is really impressive?
Say it again.
You've seen Trey Tucker take a lot of those punts and return them, and he might be returning with the ball already, but what have you seen from his game that has impressed you?
Yeah, that's a competition also, right? I mean, that's all those guys are going to get reps. What we want is Trey to be comfortable back there catching as much as he can, right? And then the other part about that is all those guys have got to get used to what we call returner mechanics, right? Everybody thinks it's just how you catch a punt, but it's also I got to make the right decision. So that's what all of them are going to be doing right now.
Another competition with the snappers. I know Alex has done it for a while. Tyler seems to have a lot of athleticism to him. I guess, what do you look for in that battle?
Yeah, that's accuracy on snaps. That's how they do in pressure situations. Protection's a huge thing that Alex did not have to do as much in college as Tyler didn't do as much in college as he does now. So it's going to be a battle throughout, and those guys really need to get tested. We need to find the right guy and find the right guy fast.
Connor Hayward gets a lot of talk as a great fullback, running back, tight end, but a little underrated in special teams. What do you like about him as a special teams guy?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that there's not many. If you asked everybody on this team, hey, man, how many guys have blocked punts? there's maybe 2 or 3 guys on the whole team that have blocked a punt in an NFL game, and he's one of them. So that's good to have. And then he's just been a great sounding board for the young guys, too, because he's already showed them how to work, how to do things the right way. So really, really pleased with him.
You've worked with Matt previously, a couple years separated. Is there any way that you've seen him grow? Now you're reuniting him with him here at the Raiders.
Yeah, he's been hitting the ball really well. Today, obviously we had a 2-minute. It was a longer field goal. One of my biggest things that I like to say is closer is better. We had a lot of penalties in that 2-minute period and backed him up, and we didn't hit the ball we needed to hit right there. So we'd like to get that one over. But other than that, he's had a great offseason, a great camp so far. We just got to keep him in the right groove and hopefully get him back to where he was when I had him in L.A.
Coordinator Joe DeCamillis, Rick Dennison is set to step to the podium, walking over on the field right now. We will bring that to you as soon as he gets set. Until then, Clay has a gift for you.
Be caller number 9 at 702-365-9200 for a 4-pack of tickets to go see the Las Vegas Aviators at the Las Vegas Ballpark. 4-pack of tickets against the River Cats Saturday, August 15th for Kurt's bobblehead T-shirt night. Be caller 9, 702-365-9200. All right, let's take you live. The Raiders AHQ as there's select players and coaches up at the podium for the press conferences, and offensive line coach Rick Dennison has joined the podium. Let's take a listen.
The lines were pretty static the whole time. Same. Is it just the ones are doing that well, or is it everybody competing? What's your thoughts?
Everybody's competing. We're just starting out. This is second day in pads. For offensive line, you can't really tell how they're going to be in shorts. They need to have pads. They need to work together. So in our drills, we're working everybody with everybody, but we're just kind of starting out right now, and everybody's really working hard and competing, trying to get the calls right, the verbiage, and then obviously the technique. So we're not even through our install yet, so we still got a couple more days of putting our base stuff in, and then we'll pull and keep moving guys around.
Is there a level of importance with you on the offensive line to identify that group, just in terms of communications and cohesion?
Really, I would hope they would all know it and they'd all work together. It's certainly the two next to each other working in combination have to feel pretty good. But like I said, we're mixing and matching them in the individual drills anyway. I think it's all tied with the center. The center ties both sides. He's the biggest piece, and we feel obviously really good about Tyler. So he's done a great job as far as leading them, not just by example, but making calls and getting everybody on the same page.
What would you say is the biggest challenge is picking up this offensive line blocking scheme for right now?
Just the feeling of the speed, right? We're trying to run off the ball. We're trying to get things going, make the defense feel our speed and threaten all aspects of the field, right? We want them to carry all 55 sideline to sideline, and we're just getting used to that right now. And then feeling the speed. The second level guys we got on defense are fast. They can run, but that's the way the NFL is, so we got to get there. We got some guys that kind of reshaped their bodies in the offseason, did a good job, and I think we're matching the speed pretty well.
It just must have been like seeing, Clint Kubiak, run his first training camp as a head coach. I know you guys spent a lot of time together when he was an assistant, but seeing him in this role, what's it been like seeing him operate?
I think he's done a great job. I think he's got a clear message. There's no agendas. We're all trying to get better. It's going to take all of us. I think he's done a really good job, but I kind of expected that when I decided to come here. That would be the only reason I'd come here, because I felt really good about what Clint's going to do.
We see Trey Zune moving around a lot on the line. Now, how much of that is wanting to see him play a lot of, see how versatile he is, and how much of it is trying to find a spot for him specifically?
I think it's just versatility. I think you guys got a good skill set, along with a lot of them, all right? I think a lot of guys can move around, and we're just trying to see, let him use all the skills he's got and see what looks best, and we're trying to find the best 5. I don't know what those are going to be right now. It's way too early to figure that one out. We got to play a couple games, in my mind. And when we do, it's good to say, Trey's played this spot or that spot. He's played a lot of spots. So, but I've had other guys play as many. Both our guards have flipped back and forth. We have tackles flip back and forth. So I think everybody's done a really good job of kind of working their assignments in different sides. It's not as easy as it looks, just saying I'm going from the left to the right. Footwork is a lot tougher than you think. So, but he's done a good job, and so the rest of them.
Do you feel DJ Glade still has, untapped potential going to year 3?
Yeah, I really think DJ's really working hard. Every day there's little things. I tell them all to, work on one thing a day. Get one skill that you get better, and we keep pointing out things that DJ's got to work on, and he does have, great length. I mean, he uses his arm length really well, and he's working really hard at it. He's made some progress, and he's, but just like the rest of them, there's things we got to get better at, and I think focusing on those things, which each one of them are doing, they're really doing a good job of saying, hey, I need to be better at that. I mean, ask them after, what'd you do bad? What'd you do good, right? And it's never as good or as bad as you think it is, but as long as they're focused on getting better, that's all we're worried about.
You're a tough coach. You don't play around, and DJ likes that. He wants that tough coaching. How enjoyable is it, with your experience, to coach a young player that wants to be pushed?
Well, I don't think we have anybody in the room that doesn't want to be pushed. That's why they're here. If they were that way, they probably wouldn't be here, right? So I don't know if I'm tough or not. I'm just me. If I tell them all the time, I'm gonna be mad at you, make a mistake. If you make it twice, I'm really gonna be mad, right? I'm gonna have to give you. And I kind of lost a little bit today, but it's important that they know that their jobs are essential for all 11 to do right. It's not just one guy. All 11 got to do something right. So, we can't just say, well, we're successful because one guy did it right. We all got to work together. That's why the 5 of them got to work hard.
You were just kind of talking about how much Tyler really helps kind of the combinations, getting everything set. When you look at those 2 guards next to him, Jackson Powers and Spencer, how much do you think they've benefited from Tyler? How he sets the
Well, I don't think anybody won't benefit from Tyler. I mean, I think he's done a really good job. He's athletic, and again, he leads. He does all the drills, but I think everybody on there has worked their tail off, right? I really do. I think they came in with a great attitude. We're gonna do the best we can. We're gonna improve and get better every day, and you could see him strive for it right there. I was just talking to Richie. I had Richie in Buffalo, and he said, "Man, those guys are working hard for you." So, good guys.
What have you seen from Colton, especially coming off an injury year and stepping on the field now?
I think he's really, in the spring, you could tell he was just getting better. And now he looks like himself. He's using his length well. He's such a patient guy out the edge. He does a really good job. So, like I said, he's got little skills that we keep working on. Hey, you got to get better at this. And very receptive to that. They're all really open mind, and they do what you ask them.
All right, Raiders offensive line coach Rick Dennison today live from Raiders HQ. You can hear great sound like from this throughout the day on JT the Brick Show from 12 to 2 and Q Myers from 2 to 5. Again, Quiddy Pay, Jack Bash, Nakobe Dean are set to speak today over at the podium. We're out of time. Catch us up on live on our podcast page at lvsportsnetwork.com and the free LV Sports Network app. And also go onto our YouTube page. Fantastic content from training camp up at Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. For Vince, for Vinny, I'm Clay. Have a great day, everybody.